Izuku Midoriya, 4 years old, son of Hisashi and Inko Midoriya. The three of them lived happily, until it all started to fall apart. The two loving parents were currently in the doctor's office. Little Izuku was running around the office with his All Might action figure that he loved to carry around. "Izuku, sweetie, slow down, you are going to fall," said Inko. Hisashi laughed. "It's all right, dear, let him run around. Just make sure not to knock anything down. All right, Izuku?" Izuku stopped and nodded. "I won't. I'm just really excited to find out what kind of quirk I'll have." "He sure is energetic, isn't he?" asked the doctor as he walked into the room. "Yeah, he is," said Inko. "All right, Izuku, time to sit down." Izuku nodded and quickly sat down. "Good, now let's get on to what you came here for. So what kind of quirk does my son have? My wife can attract things and I can breathe fire. Izuku here also has dreams of becoming a hero," said Hisashi. The doctor looked at his charts. "Unfortunately, Izuku here won't develop a quirk." The entire Midoriya family's eyes went wide. I'm sorry, what?" asked Inko. "Let me explain." Reaching into the folder, the doctor pulled out an X-ray of Izuku's foot. "You see, those with quirks have only one joint in their pinky toe, while those without quirks have two. In Izuku's case, he has 2 joints, which in all likeness means that he will not have any powers. Sorry, kid, but you can't be a hero." Izuku dropped his All Might action figure. "Thank you, Doc, we'll see ourselves out." The family then got up and walked out of the doctor's office. The car ride home was quiet. After a few minutes, the family got home. Entering, Izuku didn't say a word but slowly made his way into the other room where he had a computer on. Taking a seat, he began to watch videos of All Might. The two parents stood at the doorway as their son watched the video. Halfway through the video, Izuku spoke but didn't turn around. "Mom, Dad, can I still become a hero? Like All Might?" Inko immediately ran towards her son and hugged him. "I'm so sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry." Hisashi stood at the doorway looking at Izuku. "I'm sorry, kid, but I don't think you can be a hero. But you sure as hell can be something else." A week had gone by since Izuku got the fateful news. The once energetic boy was now sitting quietly on the sofa. It was the weekend, so this meant everyone was home. Inko was reading a book and Hisashi was washing dishes. After moments of silence, Hisashi couldn't take it anymore. "All right, kid, let's go." Walking over to the sofa, Hisashi stopped in front of Izuku. "Go get your shoes on and wear something comfortable." Izuku looked at his father confused. "Where are we going?" Hisashi smiled. "We are going on a run." "A run?" asked Izuku. He looked over to his mother who nodded. "All right." As Izuku went to change, Inko got up and walked up to her husband. "Do you think he'll be fine?" I don't know, but what Izuku needs right now is something to distract him. Maybe he can find that in running," explained Hisashi. Once he was done changing, Izuku met his father outside. "All right, sport, let's get started." "Where are we going exactly?" asked Izuku. Hisashi smiled. "You'll see. Now, an important thing about running is that you should keep a steady pace. If you go all out in the beginning, you'll get tired easily. Got it?" "I think so," said Izuku, still slightly confused. "Good enough, let's go." With that, the two began to jog down the stairs and onto the main street. After what felt like hours but in reality was only 30 minutes, and due to the fact that Izuku was still a kid and had nowhere near the amount of stamina Hisashi had, they finally made it to their destination, the beach. With sweat staining his shirt and dripping down his forehead, Izuku was picked up by his father. "So that was difficult, right?" Catching his breath, Izuku nodded. Yeah, why did we do this?" "Before I answer that, look." Hisashi then pointed forward. Turning his head, Izuku's eyes widened. Wow! There in front of him was the red glow of the setting sun as it dipped under the horizon. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Izuku nodded. "That's why I told you to come. I wanted to show you that even though the journey getting here was tough, in the end it was worth it. That's how life is going to be for you, Izuku. There will be times that you feel like quitting, but always remember, one step at a time, and don't ever look back." Being a kid, Izuku didn't fully understand the magnitude of those words, but in time, maybe he will. As father and son watched the sun disappear, Izuku tapped his dad on the shoulder. "Hey Dad, I don't know if I can become a good hero like All Might, but I still want to try." Hisashi smiled. "That's the best place to start, kid. First we have to decide if we want to start or not. Come on, we should head home. Your mom is probably worried sick." A few years later, Izuku was excited. Today was a special day. It was his 11th birthday. Hisashi took the day off and Inko was at home baking a cake. Izuku was running down the street alone. After he turned 10 and after some convincing from Hisashi, Inko finally allowed Izuku to go running on his own. Stopping at the same beach his father took him years prior, he took a deep breath and took in the cold, salty sea air. I can't wait to eat Mom's cake. I should probably head back now. Turning around, Izuku began to head home. These last couple of years' life wasn't easy for him. This was especially true in school. After the kids found out he was quirkless, they began to pick on him. The worst one of them being his childhood friend Bakugo Katsuki. Izuku would constantly come home with burns and bruises from the bullying. Inko and Hisashi even went to the principal to complain, but nothing was ever done. They suspected that it was because of Bakugo's quirk. It was strong, and he himself wanted to be a hero. After multiple attempts, the parents finally got something done by switching him to another classroom, but even there he would be picked on. But it was like his father said, one step at a time and never look back. Even though it sucked, Izuku was still happy. He had parents that loved him even without a quirk. As Izuku got closer to his home, he began to see several police cars zooming past him, followed by heroes. I wonder what happened. Izuku was casually walking down the street when all of a sudden he turned his head to the left, and for a split second Izuku could see a red lightning crackle streak past him. His eyes widened as through the lightning he could see a face. As the object left his sight, another green streak of lightning quickly followed. Was that a hero? He asked himself as he turned the corner. But as he did, Izuku's eyes widened. From the street he could see that his apartment door was taped off. Izuku feared the worst. No. Running up the stairs, he tried to get past the cops, but was stopped by one of them. Sorry kid, you can't be here. Izuku looked up to see a tall man wearing a trench coat and hat. Izuku struggled against the officer. I live here. What happened? Are my parents all right? You live here? The officer then placed a hand on both of Izuku's shoulders. Listen to me, kid. My name is Detective Nayamasa. What I'm about to say may not be easy to hear, but... However, before Nayamasa could say anything, two other officers were taking Hisashi in handcuffs away. Izuku was confused. Dad? Hisashi turned to see Izuku. Oh my god, Izuku, thank goodness you're safe. Listen, I love you, son. No matter what, I love you. Don't you ever forget that. And remember what I said. One step at a time and never look back. Promise me you'll do that. Okay, promise me. Before Izuku could respond, the officers took Hisashi away. Breaking free from Nayamasa's grasp, Izuku ran into his home to find a white cloth covering someone on the floor. Looking around, he could see that the floor was charred and scorched. Walking over to the sheet, Izuku kneeled down and reached for the end of it. Slowly, he began to pull away the sheet to reveal his mother, dead. Izuku couldn't believe it. Touching her shoulder, he began to shake her gently. Mom, hey, come on, wake up. Mom, please don't go, Mom. Tears began to fall as Izuku shook Inko more, but he knew she was gone. Sobbing and with tears hitting the floor, Izuku looked up to see a cake on the table. That's when Nayamasa walked up behind Izuku and covered Inko with a sheet. Izuku, was it? Come on, let's get you out of here and somewhere safe. Do you have any family members we can call? Standing up and with tears in his eyes, Izuku shook his head. And no, if only I was faster, I could have saved Mom. Mom would still be alive. As Izuku was being taken to a police car, Mitsuki and Masura Bakugo both ran up to him. Izuku. These were the parents of Bakugo, his childhood friend. Looking up, Izuku saw them. Ani, uncle. Seeing them caused a sudden surge of sadness to wash over Izuku. Mom, she's... That's when Mitsuki hugged Izuku. I know, dear, I know. Izuku, I thought you didn't have any relatives. Who are you? Asked Nayamasa. Masura then stood forward. We aren't family. We are close family friends. Nayamasa nodded. Where are you taking Izuku? We are going down to the police station. After that we are going to call Child Protective Services. Izuku will most likely be taken under their protection, explained Nayamasa. Mitsuki's eyes widened. No, you are not taking Izuku away. Ma'am, we have no choice. With no other family, Izuku has to go with them, explained Nayamasa once again. However, Mitsuki wouldn't let that happen. Never. We can take care of him. Isn't that right, dear? Masura looked at his wife and saw that she was more determined than ever. He sighed and turned to Nayamasa. Is it possible to take care of Izuku? Besides his parents, he's known us longer than anyone. Nayamasa thought about it. It's not really my area, but I think we can do something about that. That is, if Izuku wants to. Everyone turned to Izuku. He thought about it for a second. Even though Bakugo was mean to him, his parents were always kind to him. I want to stay with them. Nayamasa nodded. I have a hero friend that may be able to help with this. But first come with us down to the station. There are a few questions we'd like answered. Down at the police station. Izuku was taken to a lobby where he was told to wait. Soon someone would come and talk to him. Still in shock and scared, Izuku turned to one source of comfort, videos of All Might. Pulling out his phone, he began to watch his videos. After a while, Naomasa walked into the lobby. A fan of All Might? Looking up, Izuku nodded. Yeah, he's my favorite hero. I see, he's my favorite too. Izuku, listen, is it okay if I ask you a few questions? After you answer them, Mr. and Mrs. Bakugo will be able to take you home, said Naomasa. Okay, said Izuku in an empty voice. Do you know if your parents were fighting or arguing the night before? Asked Naomasa. Izuku tilted his head. No, they rarely argued. Naomasa nodded. Has your dad ever hurt you? Izuku's eyes widened when he noticed what Naomasa meant with that question. You think dad had something to do with mom's death? Naomasa stayed quiet, which only confirmed Izuku's suspicions. Getting up from his seat, Izuku balled his fist. You're wrong. My parents loved each other. Dad wouldn't ever do something like that. I believe you. You want to know how? My quirk, I can tell when someone is lying, and what you just said was the truth. But there were no signs of a struggle or even a break-in. The only ones in your home were your mom and dad, explained Naomasa. Still, my dad loved my mom. Even after they found out I was quirkless, they still loved me, yelled out Izuku through sobs. You're quirkless? Naomasa then got a call on his phone. After the call, he turned to Izuku. It seems like the paperwork is all done. You will be staying with Mr. and Mrs. Bakugo for the time being. Come, I'll take you to them. Now under their care, Izuku went home with them. Izuku dear, if you need anything, just tell us. You can have the guest room. It may be small, but it should work out, said Mitsuki. Izuku simply nodded and responded, Thanks, Auntie, before going back to looking out the window. 3 years later. Now 14 years old, Izuku was living a somewhat normal life. He was currently in middle school, sitting in his class with his head down. Everyone else around him was loud and talking to one another. Hey Deku, are you alive? Asked someone, tapping on his shoulder. Getting up, Izuku turned around to find Bakugo. Kachin, what's up? Over the years and the fact that they were living together, the two once again grew a bond. Yes, Bakugo would still pick on him, but it was more in a playful manner. Didn't get much sleep. Up all night again with your girlfriend? Asked Bakugo with a smirk on his face. Izuku blushed slightly. She's not my girlfriend, but yes, we stayed up all night again working on stuff. Throwing his arm around Izuku, Bakugo began to tease. You sure the two of you weren't making babies? Why, you know that's just her way of saying building stuff. Don't misunderstand, said Izuku as he pushed Bakugo's arm off. All right, just wanted to make sure, explained Bakugo. Sure about what? Asked Izuku. Bakugo's face turned serious. Still want to go to UA to be a hero? Izuku looked Bakugo in the eyes. Yes. Even though you have no quirk? Asked Bakugo. Yes, I've been training every day, you know. My stamina is amazing thanks to all the running I've done, and thanks to all the junk at the lab I've been gaining some muscle, explained Izuku. You're going to get hurt, said Bakugo. I don't care, said Izuku. Bakugo clicked his tongue. Damn it, Deku. You know you can't be a hero. Why even try? You are like the smartest guy I know. You can join the support department or something. Izuku balled his fists. It's what Mom would have wanted. Besides, if I become a hero, I can find out who killed her and finally get my dad out of jail. In the months following Inko's death, Hisashi was tried and found guilty of killing his own wife. Izuku even spoke to the jury and told them that his father only ever loved them. But alas, the circumstantial evidence was piled against him. Eventually, he was found guilty and sentenced to 35 to life in prison. After the trial, Izuku would be fully under the Bakugo family care. Making sure to not let Izuku forget his father, Mitsuki would go down to the prison once a week with Izuku to visit his father. Their time was limited, and the only way they could see each other was through a glass panel, but it would do for now. Every week on a Saturday, at 12 p.m., Izuku would visit his father and talk about the week. And every time Izuku went to visit his father, he would always say this right before he left. I promise you, I'll get you out one day, and then we'll be a family again. Bakugo sighed. Please, just think about what I said. I don't want you to end up like. However, before Bakugo could finish, Izuku snapped. Like who, Bakugo? Seeing Izuku mad scared Bakugo. Never mind, just try to get home before it's dark, okay? See ya? Izuku watched Bakugo leave the classroom. Soon Izuku would also leave, but he wouldn't go home yet. Instead, Izuku ran down to the beach, but it wasn't any normal one. This one was covered in trash and metal. Climbing over the piles of metal, he eventually came upon a makeshift hut with a glass roof. Going inside, he found several beakers of liquid along with several prototype gear. "Hey Hatsum, are you here?" Izuku called out. As Izuku looked around, a hand suddenly appeared from a pile of scrap metal. "I'm here," said a voice. "Can you help me out? I'm a bit stuck here." Izuku sighed as he walked over to the pile and grabbed the person's hand. Pulling, he managed to free the person. "How many times do I have to tell you to be careful? This is the 4th time I have found you like this." A girl with pink-colored thick dreadlocks and green-yellow eyes appeared. She wore a black tank top, had a workshop overalls wrapped around her waist, and goggles on her head. "Sorry about that, I was taking apart a fridge when the pile fell over." "Wait, I just noticed. How did you get here before I did?" Izuku narrowed his eyes. "Did you ditch school again?" Hatsum froze up. What, Nuo?" "Hatsum, did you ditch school?" asked Izuku. I called in sick, so no harm, no foul," said Hatsum with a grin. Izuku sighed. "Whatever, as long as you get into UA it's fine. So, what are you working on?" "I'm working on a chemical compound that will super harden in an instant," said Hatsum excitedly. "Although, most of my attempts have failed. I'm sure you'll get it soon enough. In the meantime, you should probably start cleaning up. Especially these chemicals over here." "Why are these even out here?" asked Izuku. The chemicals he was talking about were in clear glass containers and on a shelf. "Oh, those are the chemicals I'm using for anything I have planned," explained Hatsum. "I'll clean it up later, promise." Izuku sighed. "All right, fine. Come on then, let's head out. I'll buy you something to eat on the way back." Hatsum frowned. "But my babies. They will be here tomorrow. You need a break, and I'm hungry, so let's go." Pouting, Hatsum cleaned herself off and headed out. Several minutes later, Izuku and Hatsum walked out of the convenience store with meat buns in hand. "Thanks for the food, Midoriya," said Hatsum as he took a bite out of her bun. "No problem. This is probably the first thing you've eaten in a couple of days, right?" Hatsum stayed silent. "Thought so. I swear one day you'll work yourself to death. But before that I will go down as the world's greatest support gear maker in UA," said Hatsum with a smile. Izuku's eyes softened. "Right, UA." Seeing that Izuku's mood changed, Hatsum thought of a way to distract him. "Hey, want to take a shortcut home?" she asked, pointing down an alley. "I mean, sure. I don't see why we don't take our normal route though." Izuku shrugged but followed Hatsum down the alley. As they were walking, however, they didn't know that something was watching them. "Well, what do we have here? 2 fresh bodies for me to pick. I think I'll go with the guy," said as a villain made of sludge as he stuck to the wall. "I'm telling you, Midoriya, it's going to work," said Hatsum, slightly frustrated. "I'm telling you it's not. The amount of tensile strength you'll need to make that is off the charts. And even if you made something like that, you'll never be able to incorporate it properly. The machine will break from the stress," said Izuku as he argued with Hatsum. Hatsum groaned. "My babies won't break. I know my babies since I created them." Izuku raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? What about baby number 34? Hatsum's face scrunched up. "Oh, and 41, 52, 56, want me to keep going?" All right, geez, no need to kick me while I'm down," said Hatsum. Izuku laughed. "Just trying to tell you to slow down, enjoy life, and try not to blow yourself up. It's like my dad told me, 1 step at a time and don't ever look back." "Your dad sounds wise, kid. Too bad for you. You'll never see him again." Turning around, Izuku was suddenly snatched up by the sludge villain. "Midoriya!" yelled out Hatsum. The villain then began to try to invade Izuku's body. As he did, Izuku began to move around trying to fight back. "Hey kid, stay still. You'll only make things worse for yourself. I just need your body. I don't really need you awake." Feeling his airway starting to be blocked, Izuku's vision began to fade. "Sorry, Dad, Mom, I couldn't do anything in my life. Even now, I'm so helpless." Hatsum was about to jump in to do something, but before she could, a booming voice was heard behind them. "Ha ha ha, your time is up, villain." "Why?" "Because I am here." Turning around, Hatsum smiled. "No way." There, standing at the end of the alley, was a tall and muscular man with yellow hair. This was All Might, the #1 hero. The sludge villain's eyes widened. "Ah hell, I thought I got away from you." All Might laughed. "No one can escape me. Now, let's finish this, shall we?" Pulling back his massive fist, All Might dashed towards the villain. Now in close, All Might threw his fist forward. He didn't even make contact. The sheer wind pressure from his fist was enough to send the villain splattering towards the wall and get Izuku free from his grasp. Catching Izuku before All Might put the boy down. "Hey kid, you alright?" Coughing out pieces of sludge, Izuku looked up. Instantly he recognized who it was. All Might? Yeah, that's me. So are you alright? Asked All Might. Midoriya, are you hurt? Please say no, we wouldn't want your ideas going to waste, said Hatsune, running up to him and checking if he was alright. Izuku rolled his eyes. My head is fine, and I'm fine too. Thanks, All Might. It's what I do, kid, said All Might with a smile. Izuku then reached into his backpack and pulled out a notebook. If it's not too much trouble, can you sign my notebook? Of course. Grabbing the notebook, All Might took up 2 pages signing his name. He then handed it back to Izuku, walking over to the villain. All Might found an empty bottle and put the villain inside. There you are. Now if you'd excuse me, I must go. Farewell. Turning around, All Might was about to jump into the air. Wait, I have a question, yelled out Izuku as he jumped at All Might at the last second. Hatsune watched as Izuku grabbed onto All Might's leg and disappeared into the sky. Midoriya, what the heck are you doing? Oh well, nothing I can do about it now. I should probably head home. I'll call Midoriya later. Still though, it looks like it's going to rain. High above her, dark clouds began to roll in. Now in mid-air, All Might felt something grabbing his leg. Looking down, he was shocked to see Izuku latched on. What the hell, kid? Are you crazy? Let me go. If I do that I'll fall, said Izuku as he held on for dear life. All right, hold on, I'll land. Sliding atop of a roof, the two landed safely. Never do that again, kid. Again, sorry, but I have to go. Izuku reached out. Wait, all I want is to ask you a question. All Might began to cough. I don't have much time, kid. Closing his eyes, Izuku mustered up the courage to ask, please, I just want to know if I can become a hero without a quirk. But that's when it happened. All Might ran out of time. Shit. Suddenly, a puff of white smoke appeared around the hero. Izuku opened his eyes to see a very thin, frail-looking man. Who the heck are you? Fanning the smoke away, the man spoke. It's me, All Might. Izuku couldn't believe it. Man, I didn't expect for someone to find out about this. What happened to you? The All Might I know is strong, said Izuku. All Might sighed. Well, since you already know this much, might as well show you. Raising his shirt, All Might showed Izuku a horrendous wound on his side. Pretty nasty, right? I got in a fight with a villain years ago. My entire respiratory and digestive tracts are in shambles, not to mention that my stomach is all but gone. As of now, I can only be a hero for a few hours at most. Izuku couldn't believe it. The image of the invincible All Might he had in his head was now shattered. Listen, kid, don't go around telling people this. It's a pretty well-kept secret. All Might then began to walk toward a door on the roof. As for your question, no, I don't think you can be a hero without a quirk. It's too dangerous. You can be a cop or something. It's not as glamorous as a hero, but they do good work also. Anyway, I'll see you, kid. Now alone on the roof, and with dark clouds covering the city, Izuku clenched his fist. Not again. Walking down the building, Izuku decided to go, not home, but rather back to the beach. As he walked down the streets, it suddenly began to rain, but Izuku didn't care. Finally making it to the beach, he went straight into the makeshift hut. Grabbing a towel on one of the workbenches, he dried himself off. That's when Izuku's phone suddenly began to ring. Reaching into his pocket, he noticed that it was Hatsune. Sighing, he decided to pick it up. Hello? Midoriya, where are you? The rain suddenly came down. Did you make it home? Asked Hatsune. No, I'm back at the beach. I'm taking shelter inside the hut right now, explained Izuku. Hatsune noticed something in Izuku's voice. Midoriya, are you alright? You sound kind of down. Izuku stayed silent for a couple of seconds before forcing himself to smile. It's nothing really. Hatsune didn't believe him. I don't believe you. I'm going down to the beach now. No, don't, said Izuku a little too quickly. I mean, it's raining and I wouldn't want you to get sick. Besides, if you come here, I'll make you clean up. Hatsune groaned. Fine, but if anything is bothering you, you know you can talk to me, right? I know, I just need time, that's all. Thanks, Hatsune, really thank you, said Izuku. Of course, I'll always be on your side, Midoriya, no matter what, said Hatsune, which made Izuku smile. But just as he was going to respond, Izuku looked towards the containers of chemicals and noticed that they were floating. The liquid inside the beakers looked like they just lost their gravity and were floating in the air. What the? That's when it happened. Looking up, Izuku's eyes widened when he could see something crash through the glass roof, shattering it. Whatever it was, it managed to hit Izuku and throw him into the batch of chemicals. Glass and metal pieces scattered the floor as Izuku lay seemingly unconscious and with cuts over his body. The last thing Hatsune heard was a loud boom followed by crashing. Midoriya, hey Midoriya, are you there? Oh no. New powers? The doors to the emergency room of the hospital bursted open. What do we got? Asked a female doctor as several nurses wheeled Izuku on a stretcher. Male, 14 years old, struck by lightning and was thrown into a batch of chemicals. One of the nurses answered. BP is 80/60ths, low but stable. Come on Midoriya, stay strong, said Hatsune as she followed behind them. This kid is still alive. He's lucky they found him when they did. Alright, let's put him on the bed. 1, 2, 3. With the help of the nurses, they managed to put Izuku on a bed. Alright, kid has some burns and cuts on his body, let's get those patched up. Hatsune stood at the doorway pacing back and forth as they began to work on Izuku. However, as they were putting some sensors on Izuku, his heart rate suddenly skyrocketed. What the hell? What's going on? He should be fine. That's when the Iki machine began to flatline. Starting chest compressions, one of the nurses then began CPR. That's when another came in with the ED. Hatsune covered her mouth in pure shock as Izuku's body began to shake. Midoriya? That's when another nurse walked up to her. Sorry, we need the room. You have to leave. No, I want to stay. Please let me stay, yelled out Hatsune, but the nurse simply grabbed her shoulders and pushed her out of the room. Almost in tears, Hatsune looked through the glass panel. Clear, a nurse yelled out as the machine shocked Izuku. Suddenly, the lights inside the room turned off. Now a power outage? Come on, focus. We need to get this kid back. Chest compressions, ordered the doctor. After 4 minutes of chest compressions, the lights finally came back on. That meant that they could use the ED again. Hatsune watched from outside as Izuku's body jerked up from the repeated shock. A few minutes later, Mitsuki and Masaru walked into the waiting room. Sprinting towards the desk, Mitsuki demanded to see Izuku. Unfortunately for her, they were still working on him and couldn't see him now. They did, however, find Hatsune sitting alone in a chair in the lobby. Hatsune, what are you doing here? Asked Masaru. It's all my fault, Hatsune said, much to their confusion. If only I cleaned up those chemicals, Midoriya wouldn't be here. Hatsune, what happened to Midoriya? Asked Mitsuki. Looking up and with tears in her eyes, Hatsune responded. Midoriya got hit by lightning and was thrown into some chemicals. I heard it all on the phone. I got worried, so I went to the hut, and there I found Midoriya on the floor barely breathing. The last I saw him, his heart stopped beating. It's all my fault. That's when Mitsuki kneeled down and grabbed Hatsune's hand. This wasn't your fault, dear. This was just a series of unfortunate events. Don't blame yourself. Besides, you of all people should know Izuku won't go down without a fight. Masaru nodded. That's right. If anything, Midoriya will come out of this running like he always does. Hatsune nodded. Maybe you're right. A few hours had gone by now and still no word on Izuku. That is until a nurse came out from the front and called out Izuku's name. The three of them quickly got up and were escorted to where they were keeping Izuku. Walking into a room, Izuku laid on the bed with his shirt off and several wires attached to him. Standing at the end of the bed was the doctor who treated him. Izuku here is lucky to be alive. Thanks to being struck by lightning, his heart became erratic. He suffered multiple seizures. We have him stabilized for now at least. That could change later. Mitsuki raised an eyebrow. You're not telling us something. What happened to him? The doctor sighed. He's in a coma. Everyone's eyes widened. What? It seems whatever kind of chemicals fell on him caused it. That or the fact that he got struck by lightning. We don't know when he'll wake up or if he will at all, explained the doctor. And no, said Hatsune as an overwhelming sense of guilt fell over her. What do we do now? Asked Masaru. We wait. Izuku will stay here in the meantime where we will monitor his vitals and take care of him, explained the doctor. Masaru hugged Mitsuki as she stood beside Izuku. No matter how long it takes, we'll be right here waiting for you, kid, said Masaru. Hatsune sat on a chair beside Izuku. Reaching out, she grabbed his hand. I'm sorry, Midoriya. The following days, Hatsune would get out of school and head straight to the hospital. Usually, she would see Mitsuki there sitting by Izuku's side. Hey, Mrs. Bakugo. Ah, Hatsune, how are you? Asked Mitsuki. I'm good. Any changes? Asked Hatsune. Mitsuki shook her head. No, he's still not showing any signs of waking up. Hatsune frowned. I see. Do you mind if I stay here for a while? Not at all. In fact, I think Izuku would love your company, said Mitsuki with a smile. Plus, it will give me a chance to stretch my legs. So watch over him, will you? Nodding, Hatsune watched as Mitsuki left the room. As she did, Mitsuki watched through the glass as Hatsune began to tell Izuku about her day and all the new ideas she had in her head. Even Bakugo would visit the hospital regularly. He didn't stay for long, but he did always ask how he was doing. Soon days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and still Izuku didn't show signs of waking up. Curiously, he would still seize up and flatline, but that was impossible. Doctors were baffled by this and couldn't seem to find out why this was happening. 10 months later. School had ended, summer had come and gone, and now it was fall. This meant colder temperatures. This also meant it was almost time for the UA entrance exam. The deadline to sign up for the exam was tomorrow, and since Izuku wasn't waking up, it seemed that he would miss it. Currently Hatsum and Bakugo were in the room with Izuku. "Do you still blame yourself?" asked Bakugo. Hatsum looked over at Bakugo and nodded. "How can I not? If it wasn't for me, Midoriya wouldn't be in a coma." "You can't keep blaming yourself, Hatsum. Deku wouldn't want that," explained Bakugo. "You've been coming over every day for the last 10 months. Go build something. I know you haven't been doing that as of late." "I know, but still." Hatsum then stretched, causing the bones in her back to crack. "I'll start building again when he wakes up." Suddenly, a loud growl echoed in the room. It was Hatsum's stomach. Bakugo laughed. "Deku once said that you hardly eat. Come on, let's go down to the cafeteria." "But..." Hatsum tried to protest, but Bakugo would have none of it. "Let's go. He'll be fine, trust me. If anything happens, they'll call us." Hatsum didn't want to leave, but she was hungry and Izuku always made sure she was eating right. Hatsum sighed. "All right, let's go." The two then walked out the room and began to head towards the stairs. But just as they were halfway down the stairs, a loud boom echoed throughout the hospital, followed by a shockwave that knocked the two off balance. Catching themselves on the railing, they looked at each other. "What was that?" asked Hatsum. "Like hell if I know," yelled out Bakugo. "Midoriya, we need to go see if he's all right," said Hatsum as doctors and nurses ran down the stairs. Bakugo agreed. "Let's go." As they ran up the stairs, they quickly made it to Izuku's room to find him gone from his bed. To their surprise, they found him standing up and awake. Hatsum couldn't believe it. Midoriya. Looking up, Izuku was confused. "Hatsum? Where am I? And why am I wearing a gown?" Bakugo smiled at the sight of his friend. "You're in a hospital, idiot." "Kachin? Why am I in a hospital?" asked Izuku, even more confused. "You don't remember? About that night?" asked Hatsum. Izuku thought about it. "The last thing I remember was being at the hut when it was raining." Then a loud sound. "You were hit by lightning," explained Bakugo. Izuku's eyes went wide. "Lightning? And you were in a coma," added Hatsum. "A coma? How long was I asleep for?" asked Izuku. Hatsum and Bakugo looked at each other. 10 months, said Bakugo. 10 months, Izuku laughed nervously. 10 months, oh god, Dad, he must be worried, sick. Izuku struggled to get those last few words out. "Midoriya, are you all right?" asked Hatsum as she slowly approached him. Suddenly, Izuku felt his legs give out from under him. Running over, Hatsum caught him before he hit the floor. "Bakugo, call the doctors." Nodding, Bakugo opened the door and yelled out that they needed help. The nurses were the first to arrive, and they were just as shocked to see Izuku awake. They quickly put him back on the bed and called for the doctor. Mitsuki and Masaru were also called and were in the hospital within minutes. Running into the room, they found Izuku awake and alert, laying on the bed. Mitsuki was almost in tears. "Izuku." Izuku smiled. "Hey auntie, long time no see," he said as Mitsuki went over to hug him. Masaru quickly followed. After a few seconds, the two broke the hug and turned to the doctor. "How is he?" The doctor looked at his notes. "In all honesty, he is completely fine, which is odd for someone who was in a coma for 10 months. Izuku hasn't developed any abnormalities at all." "Does that mean I can go home?" asked Izuku. "Well, in all honesty, yes, but I would like to run a few more tests before you go, just to be safe," said the doctor. "No offense, Doc, but these beds are uncomfortable and I'd really like to get up and move now," said Izuku. "Izuku, you shouldn't rush this. We have to know for sure that you're all right," said Mitsuki. "I know that, but I feel fine really," said Izuku, really wanting to leave. "Come on, Midoriya, just stay for a little while longer," pleaded Hatsum. Izuku sighed. "All right, but only if I get something to eat. I'm starving." He then looked at Hatsum. "I'm surprised you're here, Hatsum. I thought you'd be working on an invention right now." Bakugo smirked. "She's been coming here every day for the last 10 months. She's never missed a day." Hatsum had a slight blush around her cheeks. "That's 'cause I was worried, all right. Besides, I needed someone to talk to about my ideas. No one else would listen, so you were perfect." Izuku smiled. "Thanks, Hatsum. As soon as I'm out, we'll head back to work on a new baby." Really alright, said Hatsum in a monotone voice. Izuku found it strange. Hatsum never acted like that. He then looked around at his friends and family, and couldn't help but smile. For 10 months they've been worrying about me. Sorry about that, guys. I promise I won't make you worry again. However, that's when it happened. A nurse was coming into the room holding a large folder filled with papers, when all of a sudden the nurse tripped. The nurse fell forward, and the papers flew into the air. Izuku's eyes widened when he saw this, but he saw it differently. He didn't know it at the time, but green lightning appeared in the irises of his eyes. Looking around, he noticed that everyone and everything was moving slowly, even the papers. What's going on? He asked himself as time shifted back to normal speed. Everyone turned to the nurse, helping her up. They began to pick up the scattered papers. Izuku shook his head. What was that? Everything was moving slow. After another hour of testing, Izuku was given the okay to leave. He was told to take things slow, and if he felt weak or faint to return to the hospital immediately. As they were leaving, Izuku promised Hatsum that they would go down to the hut again tomorrow to start working on a new baby. Now home, it was late and the sun was already set, but strangely enough Izuku didn't feel tired. Must be because I've been asleep for months. I know, I'll go down to the beach, it has been a while. Grabbing a jacket, Izuku snuck out of the house. Now on the street, Izuku began to jog. After an hour, Izuku made it to the beach. Am I slower? Man, I need to get back to the groove of things. Jumping over trash and metal, Izuku finally made it to the hut. Opening the entrance, he looked inside to see that the glass roof was gone, replaced by a metal sheet. Well, at least I won't get struck by lightning anymore. Izuku looked around and noticed that things were a lot cleaner than before. I guess Hatsum really did clean up. He then looked at the workbench to find several weird-looking devices. What are these? I sure did, said a voice from behind Izuku. Although, I'm still not finished. Take this pile of scrap, for instance. Turning around, Izuku found Hatsum standing by a tall metal scrap pile. Hatsum, I didn't think you'd be here. I could say the same to you. Couldn't wait to make some babies? Asked Hatsum. Izuku laughed. I couldn't sleep. So what is this anyway? They look like some sort of monitor. Picking one of them up, Izuku held it up. The device was circular and had several wires coming out of it. Those are health monitors. They track metabolic rate, heart rate, blood pressure, can scan your blood for abnormalities, and has an internal battery that's powered by kinetic energy, explained Hatsum. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Wow, that's amazing. I'm surprised you managed to condense all of that. Why'd you build it? You usually build more support gear stuff for heroes. Hatsum looked away. I built it for you, Izuku flinched. While you were in the hospital, your heart kept giving out. I saw you die multiple times mid-area, so I came up with that idea. I figured I could see how you were doing even when I wasn't there. Unfortunately, all of the prototypes kept short-circuiting when I placed them on you. Guess I still need to improve on it. Putting down the device, Izuku looked at Hatsum. I see, thanks for that. But as you see, I'm fine now, Hatsum. There's no need to worry. Hatsum grabbed her arm. Yeah, I know. Izuku walked over to his friend. Reaching out, he grabbed her hand and placed it on his chest, rather his heart. You feel that? Hatsum nodded. Good, that tells you I'm still alive, Hatsum. Ever since I woke up I could feel something off about you. Hatsum laughed nervously. How'd you guess? Your eyes for one, and the way you talked. You're normally so happy and excited, but now, it seems like you lost that, explained Izuku. Hatsum stayed silent. After a few seconds she sighed. It was my fault. If I would have cleaned up those chemicals earlier, you wouldn't have been in a coma. It was all my fault. Izuku's eyes widened as he backed away. Hatsum. Hatsum expected Izuku to start yelling, so she closed her eyes and braced for anything. However, instead of a lecture, Izuku flicked her on the forehead. Oh. Hatsum, you are the smartest person I know. How could you be so dumb? Asked Izuku. Hatsum placed her hands over the area where Izuku flicked her. What? This all happened because I was hit by lightning, Hatsum. That wasn't your fault. As for the chemicals, I should have put them away before we left that night. None of this was your fault, alright? So I'd like my old friend back, said Izuku. With water starting to well up in Hatsum's eyes, she straightened herself up and smiled. Right. Izuku nodded. Good, now come on, I'll walk you home. It's getting late. Hatsum began to walk towards Izuku, but as she did, the pile she was standing beside suddenly began to creak and tip over. Turning around, Hatsum watched as the pile began to fall right on top of her. Hatsum, Izuku yelled out as he flexed his legs to run forward. He tried to get her out of the way, but Izuku wouldn't make it in time. He was just too slow. However, that's when it happened again. Everything around him slowed down. What? It's happening again. Why is this happening? I'll think about that later. Right now I need to save Hatsum. Come on Izuku, get there. With green lightning coursing around him, Izuku zoomed towards Hatsum, picked her up, and got her out of the way of the falling metal. The hut was filled with the sound of metal clashing. Hatsum put up her hands out to protect herself, but then found herself in Izuku's arms. Huh? How did you do that? Looking at Izuku, her eyes widened. What the hell? Midoriya, you're sparking. Izuku looked at himself to see green lightning jumping off of his body. Hatsum, I think something weird is happening to me. You can say that again, said Hatsum as the hut was lit up with green lightning. The next day, sunrise. With last night's event still fresh in their minds, Izuku and Hatsum got to figuring out what was happening to Izuku. The two were currently down by the shoreline surrounded by trash. So let's go through this one more time, said Izuku. From what happened last night, it seems like I somehow got the power to move my body at incredible speeds. Hatsum nodded. Seems that way. All right, enough talk. Let's see what's really going on. With a baby in hand, Hatsum began to scan Izuku's body. This is unbelievable. What is? Asked Izuku. Your cells. They are somehow in a constant state of regrowth. I've never seen anything like this. Normally cells take hours to regrow, but you're doing it in seconds. Putting the device away, Hatsum suddenly reached for Izuku's shirt. Lifting it up, she took it off, leaving Izuku shirtless. Izuku's face turned red. Hatsum, what are you doing? He then felt her hand touch his abdomen, only causing further embarrassment. Amazing, is all Hatsum could say before she began to inspect Izuku. Wow, oh wow, this is simply amazing. What are you saying? Asked Izuku as he turned around. That's when he saw what Hatsum was talking about. Looking at himself in a broken mirror, Izuku noticed that he had a six-pack. I have abs? Since when? It seems like with your new speed powers, you burn through fat tissue at an incredible rate, explained Hatsum. Still though, she then began to pat down his sides and felt up the muscles on his chest. You look a lot more solid than last time. Finally realizing what she was doing, Hatsum quickly stopped as a small blush formed. Anyway, let's see how fast you are now. Izuku nodded as he began to stretch. Wait a minute, how the heck do I even activate the speed? That's a really good question. I have no idea. Just try focusing, suggested Hatsum. I can try. Getting ready, Izuku closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and holding it for a second, he finally exhaled. Opening his eyes, Izuku sprinted forward. As he did, green lightning began to jump off of his body. Propelling his body forward, Izuku took a step. He could feel it. Something was coursing through his body. Was it adrenaline, or something else? Whatever it was, Izuku had never felt so alive. But his amazing feeling was cut short when he found out that he couldn't control himself. A blast of wind hit Hatsum's face as Izuku took off. In the blink of an eye, he was gone. However, that's when she heard the sound of something crashing into a metal pile. Looking over, she found Izuku mangled in the metal just a few feet away. Midoriya, Hatsum quickly went to check on him. You all right? Picking himself off the floor, Izuku grabbed his arm. I think so, my arm hurts a bit. Removing his hand, Izuku's eyes widened when he saw blood dripping down a large cut on his arm. Well, that's not good. You're bleeding. Hold on, I'll go get the kit. Hatsum quickly ran into the hut to get the first aid kit. By Izuku's estimate, she was gone for maybe 30 seconds. But in that time, something amazing happened. The cut was already closing up. As Hatsum grabbed his arm to put rubbing alcohol on, she noticed that the bleeding had stopped and the wound was closing. Right, cells in a constant state of regrowth. That means accelerated healing. Too interesting. This new super speed is something I can get used to, said Izuku. As good as it is, it may have some drawbacks, explained Hatsum. Really? Power like this having a drawback? Like what? Asked Izuku. However, that's when he suddenly felt lightheaded. Wobbling, Izuku fell back and onto the sand. What's going on? I was afraid of this, since everything about you is now sped up. That means your metabolism is too, which means you get hungry faster, said Hatsum as her shadow fell over Izuku. With his stomach growling, Izuku raised an arm. Food, please, anything. Hatsum smiled. Hold on, I think I have some chocolate in the hut. After returning, she gave Izuku the chocolate bar. She then watched as he devoured it in a second. Much better. So what now? Asked Izuku as he got up. Are you up for staying here until I get a grasp on this new power? Hatsum nodded. Of course, I'll run more tests on you. Oh, I can even test some of my babies on you. Izuku's eyes widened. Oh no, please don't. But it was too late. Hatsum walked up to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. Sorry, but you can't escape me today. Me and my babies are going to take real good care of you. Hours later, the sun was now setting. Izuku and Hatsum had spent the whole day trying to understand Izuku's new powers. Unfortunately, they didn't, not fully. They still had no idea how he got them. Their main theory was it had something to do with the chemicals and the electrical current of the lightning bolt. Izuku now had some control over himself, and well, he was fast, really fast. So much so that he cleared a massive portion of the trashed beach within seconds. However, they did run into a bit of trouble when Izuku ran across the sand. Thanks to his speed, he was kicking up a massive amount of sand into the air. It looked like a sandstorm had hit the beach. After their little fiasco, they decided to not do any more tests on the sand. They did, however, move on to test Izuku's brain, and there too they found out he was fast. Izuku learned complicated math equations in seconds just by reading a textbook. You learn fast, Midoriya. Plus, you already look like you have some grasp over your power, said Hatsum as she put down a notebook. Izuku slumped over on a broken piece of furniture. Thanks, strangely enough, I don't feel tired at all. So what now? Now you sign up for the hero course at UA. Today is the last day to sign up, said Hatsum nonchalantly. What, really? Oh no, I have to get back. Running into the hut, Izuku quickly grabbed his stuff. Hatsum quickly followed suit as they ran towards the train station. Now home, Izuku and Hatsum quickly found Mitsuki and had her sign all the necessary documents online. Thanks for this, Auntie. Mitsuki nodded. Of course, but are you sure you want to do this? Yes, there's no harm in trying, right? Besides, if I don't try then I would have failed my dad, explained Izuku. Very well then, just try not to get hurt again. If something were to happen to you again, Inko would never forgive me. Izuku nodded. Good, now go wash up. Dinner is almost ready. I assume, Hatsum, you'll be staying? Hatsum nodded. Nothing beats your homemade cooking. There's no way I'm missing out. As the three chatted, Bakugo was seen around the corner standing there in silence. After an amazing dinner and promising Mitsuki a new baby that would wash dishes, it was now time for Hatsum to go home. Since it was late at night, Izuku offered to walk Hatsum to the station. As they waited for the train, Izuku turned to Hatsum. Hey, don't tell anyone about my powers yet. I want to get a better grasp on them before I go around telling people. Can you do that? Sure, your secret is safe with me, under one condition, said Hatsum, raising a finger. Izuku sighed. Let's hear it. Hatsum smiled. If you do get into UA, I want to be the one to make your costume. I got some crazy ideas that I want to test out. Fine, just don't go too crazy. I don't want to come out looking like the Terminator, said Izuku as a train pulled up to the station. I only promise to try. I'll be seeing you tomorrow, Midoriya. We still have to work on that baby. With that, Hatsum got on the train. But just before the doors closed, Izuku smiled. Hey Hatsum. She turned. It's good to see you smile again. With that, the doors closed and the train pulled out of the station. Hatsum sat down on one of the benches and twirled one of her dreadlocks around with her finger. That was sly Midoriya. Now walking home, Izuku decided to take the long way home. This would give him time to think about stuff. The route he would normally take him through the main road, but with this one he was cutting through alleys and making wild turns. As he was walking, Izuku looked at his hands. I wonder what other cool stuff I can do. However, that's when he heard something, a yell, coming down a poorly lit alley. Looking down it, Izuku could see the faint silhouette of three people. One of them was surrounded by the other two. The person yelled again, but this time it was a cry for help. Someone, anyone help. Izuku pulled out his phone to call the cops but stopped. They won't make it here on time. That person needs help now. But I still don't have full control of my speed. He then heard a loud slap, and one of the figures fell to the ground. Damn it, Izuku. Just go already. With green lightning sparking off of his body, Izuku zoomed towards the people down the alley. The girl that was in the alley was pushed to the ground as the two men took her purse and began to run away. But before they could even get 3 feet away, green lightning sparked around them. What is going on? A hero. Let's go, before they get here, said one of the men. I am already here, said a deep voice from the lightning. There standing in front of them was Izuku. The street was poorly lit, and the only light was the green lightning jumping off of him, which helped cover his face. Kill this kid, one of the men yelled out. But as he threw his fist forward, Izuku was gone in a streak of green lightning. What? Where did he go? Over here. Turning around, the men saw that Izuku got behind them. How did you? Stay still. The man yelled out as he tried to punch Izuku again, only to have him dodge out of the way just as he was about to land the hit. Seeing that his friend couldn't hit him, the second guy joined in and started to throw punches, but to their surprise none were landing. What is up with this guy? Why can't we hit him? After a while the two men got tired. Simple, I'm just faster. Dashing towards the two men, Izuku managed to punch both of them hard enough to send them flying upward. Now in mid-air, Izuku narrowed his eyes and once again used his super speed to get a running start. Aiming for a pole, he jumped up, grabbed the phone line, wanked it off and wrapped it around the two thugs before they hit the ground. The two men were now tied up against the pole about 10 feet into the air. Let us go. Stopping in front of them, Izuku smiled. That was easier than I thought. He then turned to the girl. I believe these are yours. Izuku then handed the girl her wallet and phone that the thugs snatched. The girl nodded as she got up. Why, yeah, thanks. Good, call the police and have them take them down. Anyway, I'm glad you're safe. I'll be going now, said Izuku as he turned to leave. However, before he could, the girl stopped him. Wait, aren't you going to wait for the police? Well, I can't. I was heading somewhere else right now, explained Izuku. The girl nodded. Oh, okay, thank you for saving me. Izuku turned away. Yeah, so sorry, but I can't stick around. Bye. Wait, who are you? The girl asked. Without turning around, Izuku responded. Just someone who wants to help. With that, Izuku took off and was gone, leaving nothing but a trail of green lightning behind him. A few minutes later, the police and a few heroes arrived and took the two men away. So you're saying he was really fast? Asked a man wearing a trench coat and hat. The girl nodded. Yeah, green lightning and everything. I see, said the man as he wrote down everything that the girl said. There were no reports of a hero in the area at the time, said a man wearing all black. He had a very tired look on his face. All of them were out of the city or dealing with other emergencies. However, this is just vigilantism. They weren't a hero. Naomasa nodded. Eraserhead. Yes, I already contacted their surrounding hero agencies. We have no idea who took these guys down. There was one witness who just so happens to be the one who this individual saved. Unfortunately, she couldn't get a good look at them thanks to it being dark and the speed at which he was moving. Eraserhead stopped. I see, that's unfortunate. Indeed. Anyway, Miss Uraraka, an officer will take you home now. If there's anything else that comes up, we'll contact you. With that, Uraraka was taken away. Eraserhead then turned to the pole where the thugs were tied up. To be able to tie up the villains and save the girl, it's impressive. Impressive, yes, but still it should have been left to the heroes, said Naomasa. Still though, if this person does it again, then I'll deal with him, said Eraserhead. That's when he noticed something. Kneeling down, he noticed that the ground was scorched. Was he really moving that fast? With Izuku. After taking off from the scene of the crime, Izuku made it home. Sneaking his way back, Izuku crawled into bed. Man, these powers are amazing. I wonder what else I can do. Raising his hand, Izuku saw green lightning spark. Closing his hand, he let out a smile. I can do some real good with this. Showing off. A week had gone by since Izuku woke up. Normally he would be with Hatsume working on his powers. But today was a special day, not necessarily a good one, for today it was the anniversary of Inko's death. Izuku walked through the path as the cold crisp wind blew past him. He held in his hands a bouquet of red roses. Deviating from the path, Izuku walked past gravestones until he stopped in front of one. Looking down at the headstone, it read, Here lies Inko Midoriya, a loving wife and mother. Izuku smiled. Hey mom, it's been a while, huh? Sorry for not visiting you sooner. I was sort of in an accident. Nothing crazy, just got struck by lightning is all. Oh, but don't worry, as you can see I'm fine. I just took a nap for about 10 months. I brought these for you, red roses, your favorite. Placing the bouquet on the grass, Izuku sighed. I miss you, mom. Every day I wish you were still here. I'm still working on getting dad out of prison. I'm taking the exams for UA in 2 weeks. Once I'm in, I'll become an amazing hero and prove that dad is innocent. Izuku laughed. I know you're probably asking yourself, how could I possibly get in without a quirk? Well, funny thing actually, it seems like being hit by lightning and being thrown into some chemicals gave me super speed. Don't ask me how it happened because we don't know. Hatsume has been helping me get a handle on my powers, and I think I've gotten a hang of it. I even helped some people. Yeah, I know it's technically illegal, but dad always said to never look back. You want to hear what they are calling me? They are calling me the Emerald Comet. I hate that name. Couldn't they have named me something cooler? I'll just have to think of a better name once I'm in UA. Izuku kneeled down in front of the grave and placed a hand on the cold gravestone. I promise you, Mom, I'll be careful. Just keep on watching over me like you always do, and I'll be fine. Anyways, I should probably get going. I'm going to visit Dad for a bit. He still hasn't seen me since the accident. He's probably worried sick too. I'll come by more regularly now. Bye, Mom. With that, Izuku stood up and began to walk away from the gravesite. After taking 2 trains, 2 buses, and a 20-minute walk, Izuku finally made it to the prison. After being forced to give up all electronics and personal items, Izuku was led into a room with a long glass panel separating the room. There were multiple sections that were for one person. Each of them had a phone on either side of the glass, so people could talk. After taking a seat, the door on the other side of the glass opened up and out walked his father, still chained up. After taking a seat, Hisashi smiled as he grabbed the phone. Izuku did the same. Good to see you're still alive, kid. Izuku smiled. It's good to see you too, Dad. That's when Hisashi started. Are you sure you're feeling all right? Did the doctors say anything after you got out? What about long-term effects? Being hit by lightning is no laughing matter. When Mitsuki and Masaru told me what happened, I almost broke out of here. Izuku laughed. Dad, slow down. Breathe. Hisashi took a deep breath and exhaled. Good, now I know where I get my mumbling from. Seems like that's the only thing I inherited from you. Hisashi shrugged. What are you saying? You got my irresistible looks. Izuku rolled his eyes. Right, we both know I got that from Mom. Hisashi couldn't argue with that. True, alright, I'll give you that one. So have you visited your mother? Yeah, I just came from there. I gave her the flowers and everything, said Izuku. Good, I feared that you would have forgotten about your mother. Good to see that you haven't. So, besides falling into a coma, what have you been up to? Asked Hisashi. You know, same old, same old. I had a lot of school work to cover, but I already got that done, explained Izuku. I am now officially a middle school graduate. Attaboy, I'm proud of you, son. So what's next? What high school have you picked out? Asked Hisashi, happy to see his son grow. Izuku flinched. Well, about that. Hisashi saw that look in Izuku's eyes. No, Izuku, you can't. We've been over this. Dad, I can do it. I just know I can, said Izuku. No, you could get hurt, or worse, said Hisashi. Being a hero is too dangerous. It's fine, I'll be careful, said Izuku. Besides, I'm not weak anymore. Hisashi sighed. Please, Izuku, this is for your own good. You can't keep forcing yourself to do this. But I'm not. I want to do this. If I get into UA, I can be a real hero and get you out of here, said Izuku. Hisashi rubbed the bottom of his lip. I've accepted my fate, Izuku. It's about time you forget about me and live your life. You can't keep making decisions about your life around me. I'm just holding you down. Izuku's heart rate began to increase. But you're not holding me down. I want this. I want to get you out. And I intend on doing it. What would your mother say? Would Inko really let you take such a risk? Izuku stayed silent. See, she wouldn't. Your mother wanted nothing else but to keep you safe. I know, Dad, and I get it, but I'm not a little kid anymore, explained Izuku. I just don't want you throwing your life away for someone like me, said Hisashi. Izuku slammed his fist on the metal armrest, startling the guards. For someone like you? You're my dad. How could you say something like that? Izuku, people are going to find out what I did. Remember what you told me when the kids in middle school found out? Izuku breathed in heavily. Do you really want to go through that again? If you just talk to Mitsuki about changing your last name, you can avoid it. Izuku hung his head. I already told you I'm not changing my last name, and that doesn't matter. Besides, not everyone is like that. Remember Hatsume, she never brings it up even after she found out. Yes, but from what you tell me, Hatsume is a special case. If you get into UA, how will your classmates react when they find out that your dad is a killer? Asked Hisashi. You're not a killer, Dad. We both know you didn't do it, said Izuku. Besides, I don't care what others think or say. They don't know you like I do. Plus, the whole reason why I want to be a hero and get into UA is to prove your innocence, so we can find the person in the red lightning. Hisashi looked away. Izuku. I know it sounds crazy, but you have to believe me. They are still out. The villain is still out there, said Izuku. The police didn't find him, Izuku. It was all your imagination, said Hisashi. It wasn't. I know what I saw, and if I can just, however, that's when Hisashi put his foot down. That's enough, Izuku, said Hisashi, raising his voice. Izuku flinched. You can't live your life chasing after something that might not even be involved with what happened with your mother. Izuku had tears in his eyes. But I have to. I refuse to let you rot in here. I will find whoever killed Mom and get you out. I swear. As father and son looked at each other through the glass, a guard came out from behind Hisashi. "Time's up." Hisashi nodded. "I have to go, kid. Just consider what I said, okay?" Izuku didn't want to, but he agreed nonetheless. "All right, Dad. I'll come back after I find out if I got into UA or not. I love you." As the guard grabbed Hisashi, he smiled. "I love you too, Izuku. You still remember what I told you when you were little, right?" Izuku nodded. "Yeah, one step at a time, and never look back." With that, the guard took Hisashi away, leaving Izuku alone. Taking a moment to compose himself, Izuku got up and began to walk out of the visitors area. As he was being checked out and grabbing his stuff, he heard an all too familiar voice. "Midoriya, is that you?" Looking behind him, Izuku saw Naomasa standing there. "Oh hey Naomasa. You're finally awake. When I heard you got hit by lightning and fell into a coma, I went to visit you a few times. It's good to see you up and walking again," said Naomasa. Yeah, over the years Izuku and Naomasa were in contact with each other. Naomasa wanted to get Hisashi out of prison, but he needed proof. "Any progress on my dad's case yet?" Naomasa shook his head. "Sorry, but no." Izuku grabbed his stuff. "I see. Would be a lot faster if you'd use your quirk on my dad." "I know, but with your dad it doesn't seem to work. I can't tell if what he says is a lie or a truth," explained Naomasa. "And with the evidence Izuku turned to Naomasa. "I don't want to hear your excuses, Naomasa. I want you to get my dad out of jail." Naomasa was taken aback. "I know how you must feel, Midoriya." Izuku raised an eyebrow. Do you really? My dad is in prison for something he didn't do. Do you know how many times I've been called the son of a killer? How many times people have ignored me, not just because of my dad, but also for the fact that I'm quirkless?" asked Izuku. Naomasa stayed quiet. "All I'm trying to do is help Midoriya." "You want to help? Good. Fine, be my guest, but why not work a bit more on his case? You did help put him there after all," said Izuku as he turned to leave. Once out of the prison, Izuku's lip trembled. It was taking everything he had just to hold back his emotions. After walking down the street, Izuku passed the bus stop and turned down an alley. Looking around, he saw that no one was around. Clenching his fist, Izuku wanted to scream, but now with his new powers, he found a new way to vent: running. With green lightning suddenly jumping off of his body, Izuku ran down the alley, zooming past people, cars, buses, trains, and even some heroes. But all couldn't catch him, or even had time to react. All they saw was a green trail of lightning crackling past them. Within seconds, Izuku made it to the beach. Stopping in front of the hut, he wiped the tears off of his eyes and walked inside. He needed full control over his powers, and he needed to do it fast. The UA entrance exams were coming up fast. "Hatsum, you in here?" yelled Izuku. From behind a pile of gadgets, Hatsum appeared. "What's up?" Izuku motioned towards the back. "Let's go. We are working on that thing again." Hatsum's eyes gleamed. "Does that mean I can use my baby?" Izuku nodded. "Yes, you can use your baby." Letting out a small squeal, Hatsum quickly ran off to get her baby. 2 weeks later, UA entrance exam. Izuku, Hatsum, and Bakugo all stood in front of UA's massive gates. "They are a lot taller than I expected," said Izuku as he admired them. "I wonder what they are made of. Do you think it's titanium? Or some sort of metal alloy?" asked Hatsum. Bakugo groaned. "Let's just go inside already. Hearing you two talk about this stuff is going to kill me." Izuku shrugged. "Way to kill the mood, Kachin. But he's right, we should head in. The exams are starting soon." As they walked inside, Izuku was mesmerized by the school. This was what he wanted, a chance to prove himself. Looking to his right, Izuku didn't see another person walking. Crashing into them, he accidentally knocked them down. Finally realizing what he did, Izuku panicked. I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Are you all right? Here, let me help you up." Reaching out, Izuku offered the person a helping hand. The person grabbed his hand. "No, it's fine. I wasn't paying attention either." Izuku helped the person up and noticed it was a girl with short brown hair, brown eyes, and pink blushes around her cheeks. "This girl, she's the one I saved from those two thugs." With Izuku's help, Uraraka stood up. "Thanks for that," she said with a smile. Izuku nodded. "No problem. Glad to see you're not hurt." "Yeah, I wouldn't want to start the exams on a bad note. Anyway, I'll be going now. Maybe I'll see you inside." With that, Uraraka waved and walked towards the check-in station. Izuku watched as Uraraka walked away. "So are you done gawking?" asked Bakugo. What? I wasn't gawking," said Izuku, blushing slightly. Bakugo smirked. "Right, listen Deku, I'm no expert, but I don't think you should flirt with other girls. You wouldn't want your girlfriend to get jealous." Izuku rolled his eyes. How many times do I have to tell you Hatsum is not my girlfriend? When did I say it was Hatsum? Asked Bakugo. Izuku turned and stared at Bakugo. All right, relax. Well, you're lucky she wasn't paying attention. Izuku turned to find Hatsum had gotten back to the gate and was actually inspecting it. Oh, for goodness sake, Hatsum. After dragging Hatsum back, she went off to take the entrance exam for the support department, while Izuku and Bakugo went to the stand for the hero exam. Given a number, Izuku was instructed to go to a room to take the written part of the exam. The test would consist of 50 questions on basic hero law and other hero-related things. They had 30 minutes to finish the test. Normally someone would take the full 30 minutes to finish. If you were smart enough, you would finish in 20, but not Izuku. As soon as he picked up the pencil, he went straight to work. Izuku was already smart, but now he had a super brain that can process information tens of thousands of times faster than a normal can. It's how he managed to finish the schoolwork he missed when he was in a coma. 5 minutes, that's all it took for Izuku to finish the test. He would have finished it faster, but he wanted to make sure he got all of the questions right, so he kept going back and checking. The people who were watching the students were perplexed. How did you do that? They asked. Izuku just answered with, I think fast. They didn't understand what he meant, but they let him wait in the other room until the next part of the exam. 30 minutes later, everyone was ushered into a theater. Izuku looked around to see so many people. Whoa, there's a lot more people than I thought there was going to be. Taking a seat next to Bakugo, the lights in the theater suddenly went dark, all but the ones on stage. From behind the podium, a man with a speaker around his neck appeared. All right, everyone, how are we doing today? Welcome to US entrance exam. My name is Present Mike, and I'll be explaining the practical part of this exam. So can I get a yeah? Silence. Wow, tough crowd. Anyway, on to the explanation. You will all be separated into groups and placed in one of our replica cities. There you will fight robots. Each robot will have a number painted on it. There are 3 types of robots, each worth 1, 2, or 3 points. Explained Present Mike as images of robots appeared behind him. That's when a hand shot up. Yes, you with the glasses, you have a question. With his hand raised, a boy with blue hair and glasses stood up. Yes, the brochure says there are 4 robots. Present Mike pointed at the boy. I was getting to that. There is one more robot. This one is worth 0 points, so try to avoid it. The more robots you destroy, the more points you get. Simple enough, right? Oh right, one more thing. You can use your quirks as you please. But don't use them to hurt anyone or you'll be disqualified. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Izuku got up and grabbed a number. This was going to be his designated area. Yua also allowed the examiners to change into something more comfortable. As Izuku was about to go change, Bakugo stopped him. Look, I really don't want you getting hurt, so if you're in danger, just run away. Izuku smiled, happy that his friend was worried. It's going to be fine, Kachin. Look, if I don't get into Yua, I'll give it up, everything. Deal. Bakugo sighed. Alright, fine, deal. Try not to die, Deku. I don't plan on it, said Izuku as he turned to leave. After getting changed, Izuku now stood in front of a massive replica city with tall walls surrounding it. Yua doesn't go cheap on things, huh? Izuku wore a special green shirt and black shorts that Hatsum whipped up to handle his speed. They looked like regular clothes, so it helped Izuku. If I go all out in the beginning, I can destroy all of the robots, but that will leave none for the others. Maybe I should wait until everyone's gone. Looking around, Izuku found the girl he bumped into. She had her hand on her chest and was breathing in and out slowly. She looks nervous. Maybe I should go talk to her. Izuku began to walk over to the girl, but was stopped by a hand on his shoulder. What do you think you're doing? Asked the boy with blue hair. Don't think you could go around talking to people. She's concentrating. Leave her be. Slightly annoyed, Izuku slapped the boy's hand off of him. What is it to you? Mind your own business. Besides, I wasn't going to distract her. If you pay attention, she is nervous, and I thought talking to someone would calm her down. With that, Izuku walked away from the boy and towards Uraraka. Hey, you all right? He asked, stopping behind her. Uraraka turned around. Yeah, I'm good, just nervous is all. I get it, I'm pretty nervous as well. But if we do our best, we won't have any regrets, right? Said Izuku with a smile. Uraraka nodded. You're right. If we do our best, we are sure to get it in. Thanks for this, I feel a lot calmer now. Glad I could help, said Izuku. All right, everyone, it's almost time, said Present Mike from the top of the lookout tower. Remember, you can use your quirks as much as you want, but don't use them to attack people. The exam will have a 10-minute limit. Once it hits 0, the exam is over. That's when the doors to the city opened up, much to the surprise of everyone. Nobody moved a muscle. Well, what are you waiting for? There's no starting buzzer in real life. Go. Everyone took off at a run towards the city. Well, everyone but Izuku. He stayed behind. Hey kid, aren't you going to go? Asked Present Mike. Izuku nodded. I am. I just want to make sure everyone has a chance. A chance? A chance of what? Asked Mike, confused. Izuku then sat down on the ground. A chance for everyone to get points. Observation room, 9 minutes later. In another room, 8 dark shadowy figures sat in a room filled with monitors that watched the different cities. We have so many students applying for the hero course, said a female shadow. One small shadow nodded. Indeed, I believe this year we have the most of any year. Each student has their distinct advantage. Some are smart, others rely on power, and others on observation, said another shadow. While that is true, that's not the only thing we want in our students, said the small shadow. The small shadow then turned to a monitor. How peculiar. Something wrong? Asked a tall, skinny shadow. This kid hasn't moved from the starting line. Everyone in the room turned to find Izuku sitting down on the floor. What is he doing? Asked the female shadow. Wasting his and our time, said another shadow. If he's not going to take this seriously, then he should just leave. Who is he anyway? The small shadow pulled up a file. Izuku Midoriya says here he finished the written exam in 5 minutes. Oh, and that he's quirkless. Midoriya? Why does that name sound familiar? Asked the female shadow. The skinny shadow raised an eyebrow. Quirkless, you say? Does he think the written exam is enough to get into UA? Just as the shadow said that, Izuku got up. Oh, look, he's on the move. Izuku then crouched down into a sprinter's stance. He took a deep breath and focused. All right, Izuku, just how you practiced. Hit them fast and hard. Suddenly green lightning began to jump off of Izuku's body, much to the observer's surprise. I thought you said he was quirkless. Down at the city, Izuku smiled as he felt the power course through his veins. Jumping forward, Izuku took off, leaving nothing but green lightning trailing behind him. One of the shadows stood up. That lightning, it's just like the description. There's only 1 minute left. I think it's time to release the Titan, don't you think? Asked the small shadow. The female shadow nodded and pressed a button on the desk. The fake city. Uraraka had just lifted a robot into the sky thanks to her quirk, zero gravity. By touching an object with all 5 of her fingertips, she could remove the gravity on said object, making it weightless. R release. Then by touching her fingertips together, she could cancel her quirk and return the gravity, causing the robots to fall and break on impact with the ground. However, like with every quirk, it came with a drawback. If Uraraka used it too much, she would become nauseous and feel very sick to the point of throwing up. Wobbling to the side of the road, Uraraka held back the urge to throw up. I need more points. But try as she must, Uraraka was already at her limit. Anymore, and she wouldn't be able to move. Uraraka ran towards another robot with the intent of destroying it, but as she stretched her hand to touch it, the robot suddenly shattered. Her eyes widened when out of nowhere green lightning passed her. What was that? Looking back, she saw as the green lightning began to bounce from building to building, from street to street, destroying any and all robots in sight. All of the students looked around confused. 1 second they were taking down robots. The next all of the robots were nothing but scrap metal in front of them. What just happened? They all asked. Observation room. The female shadow still had her finger on the Titan button when all of a sudden the screens were filled with green lightning. The teachers couldn't see what was happening. All they saw was the broken robots left behind. What? This guy is fast, said a shadow. Is it really that quirkless kid? Asked another shadow. I think it is, but the camera can't lock onto him. He's moving too fast, said the small animal shadow. Stepping forward, one of the shadows became clear. It was Aizawa. This lightning, it couldn't be. Could he be the one from that night? Back in the city. After destroying the remaining robots in the city, Izuku slid to a stop. Phew, that was fun. I could have kept going, but they ran out of robots. Looking down in his hand, Izuku held a piece of wiring from one of the robots. Hey kid, was that you? Asked someone. Looking up, Izuku noticed that it was Present Mike hiding behind the tower. Yeah, that was me. Why? You almost blew me away. Literally. I had to hang on for dear life when you took off, yelled out Mike. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. Sorry about that. I guess I got too excited. However, as Izuku was being scolded, the ground beneath him suddenly began to rumble. Whoa, what's going on? Present Mike looked into the city. Guess they finally released it. Released what? Asked Izuku. The Titan. Oh man, I wouldn't want to be in the city with that thing there, said Mike. Last time they released it, we had some injuries, but... Before Present Mike could finish the sentence, Izuku once again took off at a run, leaving behind a massive dust trail and green lightning. Mike grabbed onto the railing and hung on for dear life. Geez, he didn't even let me finish. We did have some injuries, but Recovery Girl healed them. Deep within the city, a massive robot appeared from underground. The sheer size of it dwarfed the surrounding buildings, and with one swing of its massive arm, the Titan destroyed a building, sending pieces of said building flying towards the test takers. Students ran for their lives as pieces of the building fell around them. However, one unfortunate person would be Uraraka. A large slab piece of the building the Titan destroyed landed on her leg. Uraraka yelled out in pain as she was now pinned underneath the large concrete slab. Uraraka called for help. Help me. But no one heard her. They were all too busy worrying about themselves. And all the while the Titan robot was rumbling down the main street, destroying buildings as it rolled through. Even more pieces went flying towards the students, and some were about to hit when out of nowhere the piece they thought would hit would land beside them. Someone had moved them out of the way. This happened to the boy with glasses. What? Again, who is doing that? That's when the boy saw green lightning zoom past him and towards the trapped Uraraka. Uraraka tried to use her quirk to lift the slab, but found that she had overused her quirk and could no longer use it. See, come on, I need to get out. Mom and Dad are counting on me. I can't let them down. Unfortunately for her, the Titan robot was just a few meters away when it suddenly outstretched its metal arm to grab her. Uraraka closed her eyes and braced for whatever was next, but nothing happened. Instead, she suddenly felt herself being picked up and carried away. Opening her eyes, Uraraka was no longer in danger. Instead, she sat down atop of a car and away from the Titan robot. Huh. That was a close one, wasn't it? Said Izuku, standing beside the car. Uraraka turned to find Izuku leaning against the car. She then looked down at her ankle to find it bandaged up. Huh, when did you? Don't worry about that. Anyway, you good? Asked Izuku. Uraraka nodded. Why, yeah, thanks to you. That's when the ground beneath them once again began to rumble. Looking down the street, Uraraka found the Titan once again rolling towards them. Oh no, it's back. We should get out of here. Izuku pushed off the car. Nah, it'll be fine. Stay here, I'll deal with the Titan. Be back in a flash. Uraraka watched as Izuku walked down to the middle of the street and faced down the Titan. Everyone in the city and the shadows in the observation room watched as green lightning began to crackle around Izuku's body. Wait, you'll get hurt, said Uraraka. Izuku turned and smiled. It's fine, I'm just someone who wants to help. Uraraka's eyes widened when she heard those words. There's no way, is he the one from that night? With a loud boom, Izuku took off towards the Titan. As he got closer to it, Izuku finally got a good look at it. It's a lot bigger than I expected. Can I even take down something like that? Worth a shot. It's like Dad always says, one step at a time and never look back. Even with his incredible speed, the Titan still somehow managed to track him. Raising its arm, it slammed it down in an effort to squish Izuku. The massive hand crushed the ground. Everyone thought Izuku was done for, but to their surprise, Izuku suddenly appeared from in between the spaces of the hand. An even greater surprise was when Izuku began to run up its massive metal arm. Everyone watched as Izuku began to run back and forth from shoulder to shoulder. What is he doing? Asked Uraraka as she watched green lightning go back and forth. The onlookers then watched green streaks of light appear all around the Titan's body. Coming back, Izuku stopped in front of Uraraka. All right, that should do it. Uraraka blinked a couple of times. What did you do to it? It's still coming over here, she said as it began to rumble towards them again. Izuku smiled. Here, hold this. Izuku then tossed something at Uraraka. Catching it, Uraraka noticed what it was. Is this a bolt from the robot? Wait for it, any second now. After a couple of seconds, the Titan robot then suddenly began to slow down. It came to a complete stop, then started to creak and tremble. Walking towards it as calmly as could be, Izuku raised his hand and flicked the Titan with little force, and much to everyone's surprise, the massive robot began to fall apart. Large pieces of metal fell as a loud buzzer noise was heard, signaling the end of the exam. All right, everyone, time is up. I hope you all got enough points. Please, if you are injured in any way, stay where you are. We'll send someone over to you soon. Good, now that that's out of the way. How about the ankle? Asked Izuku, turning to Uraraka. Huh, it still hurts. I think it might be broken, she said, moving her leg, showing that it was bandaged up. Then why don't I take care of that? Said a small older woman with a cane. Izuku recognized the woman. You're Recovery Girl, aren't you? The old woman smiled. Right you are, here have some candy. Putting out his hand, recovery girl gave Izuku some hard candy. Now, let's see that ankle. It doesn't seem to be broken, so it should be a quick fix. Kissing Uraraka on the cheek, the young girl was surprised to feel the pain go away. It doesn't hurt anymore. There, you should be all healed up now. Give it a try. Jumping off the roof of the car she was sitting on, Uraraka landed on her feet with no pain. Wow, it's as good as new. Thank you so much, said Uraraka, bowing. Think nothing of it. Now to you, young man, any injuries? Asked recovery girl. Izuku broke the hard candy with his jaw. No, I'm all good. Excellent. If anyone else is injured, please tell me. Everyone else, please go change. You will get your results in a week or two. Good luck, said recovery girl as she walked towards the other students. With nothing more to do, Izuku walked away from the others to go get changed. Uraraka tried to call out to him, but she didn't even know his name. Observation room. It's him, I'm sure of it, said Aizawa as he looked at the replay. Still though, records show that the kid is quirkless, said the female shadow. I don't care what the records show, it's him, said Aizawa. I'm going down there to arrest him. But before Aizawa could leave, the small shadow stopped him. Unfortunately, all your evidence is based on a report, and in that report it says you don't know what this individual looks like. Even if you arrest him, you won't be able to hold him. Aizawa groaned. Fine, but if he gets in, I want him in my class. The small shadow agreed, but as they were talking, the tall skinny shadow couldn't help but stare at the boy. I can't believe it, to think he's the same kid I met on the roof. I wonder why he said he was quirkless. But that's not all. His last name, Midoriya, sounds so familiar. Stepping into the light, the shadow was finally lit, showing that it was All Might in his skinny form. Outside of Yua. Izuku now waited outside of Yua's main gates. Hatsum still hadn't come out. Where is this girl? He asked himself as he continued to wait. 10 minutes later, Hatsum finally appeared. Hey there, Midoriya. It's about time you showed up. What took you so long? Asked Izuku. Hatsum smiled. I stayed a bit longer since I wanted to keep on working on the baby I built. It blew up multiple times before I got it right. Izuku sighed. That explains why your face is covered in dust. Come on, let's go home. The two then walked towards the train station. Bakugo had already gone ahead since he didn't want to wait for Hatsum. So how was the hero entrance exam? Asked Hatsum as they boarded the train. It was great. We fought robots, explained Izuku. The train began to pull out of the station. You have to tell me about the robots, said Hatsum excitedly. Izuku put up his hands. I will, don't worry. For now, relax. We both worked hard today. Hatsum agreed. True, but I'm starving. Can we stop by the store to get some chocolate? Sure, why not? I'll even pay today, so get whatever you want, said Izuku. Hatsum smiled and couldn't wait to get to the store. Hatsum can sure be a handful sometimes, but that's what I like about her. Even after finding out what my dad did, she still stayed by my side. I'm lucky to have her in my life. As they rode the train, Izuku looked out the window to see buildings pass him by. However, on one roof he saw something that he wouldn't ever forget. There, standing at the top of a building and looking straight at him, was someone with red glowing eyes. Izuku was confused, but his confusion turned to surprise when all of a sudden the person disappeared clad in red lightning. Izuku's eyes widened and his heart rate shot up. He stood up to get a better look, but the person was already gone. Sitting back down, Izuku had sweat dripping down his forehead. Hatsum saw this. Hey Midoriya, you alright? You look like you've just seen a ghost. I'm fine, just tired, that's all, said Izuku, giving Hatsum a fake smile. The rest of the train ride, Hatsum talked about the support department entrance exam. But Izuku wasn't paying attention. He was still thinking about the person in the red lightning. It was him, the person in the red lightning, the one who killed my mom. They are still out there. Test. Hatsum stood outside with a tablet in her hands, staring at the sea. The sun was setting and the air was starting to get cold. All right, he should be showing up in 3, 2, 1. From the water, green lightning crackled around Izuku as he ran towards the shore. Izuku was running on water. Coming to a stop on the sand, Izuku smiled. That was fun. I've never been to Miyake Island before. Hatsum nodded. Impressive. You ran to that island in just under a minute. And the island is about 135 kilometers away. The waves kept messing me up. I almost fell into the water on more than one occasion. And if I fell in at my speeds... Izuku paused for a second. The impact with the waves would be enough to shatter every bone in your body, and you would most likely die, explained Hatsum. Izuku flinched. Don't remind me. But I have to be careful at these speeds. That reminds me. How the heck do I not burn up? The amount of friction I create is more than enough to spark a fire. Hatsum raised an eyebrow. That's actually a good question. Your clothes don't catch fire, but neither do the devices I put on you. Let's test something. Before Izuku could agree to anything, Hatsum jumped into his arms. Izuku's eyes widened as he caught Hatsum. What the hell? Warn me next time, he said as he carried her princess style. Hatsum smiled. I knew you'd catch me. Now on to the experiment. Izuku sighed. What is it? Simple. You run with me in your arms. Izuku did a double take. I'm sorry, what? He asked, confused. Hatsum, you could burn up if this goes bad. Midoriya, I am an inventor, and sometimes you have to take risks. Besides, this is going to work if my theory is correct, said Hatsum as she wrapped her arms around Izuku's neck. Fine, but if you start catching fire, I'll stop. Grabbing onto Hatsum tight, Izuku faced the ocean. With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku took off. The water split as Izuku ran past at extreme speeds. Looking down, Izuku found that Hatsum was all right. How are you feeling, Hatsum? Hatsum smiled. This is amazing, go faster. As you wish. Izuku kicked it up a notch. That's when it hit Hatsum. How the heck are you talking? And how can I hear you? At these speeds your voice should be distorted, said Hatsum, surprised. Oh right, I never told you, I can control my perception. It's not like I'm always in super speed mode, otherwise any conversation or even my daily life would be like years for me. It's complicated, but I figured it out after the UA entrance exam, explained Izuku. Stopping on a small island, Izuku placed Hatsum down. That's actually really impressive. Also, I'm not burning, so it seems my theory is correct. What theory? Asked Izuku. Hatsum then raised the tablet and scanned Izuku. Every time you run, your body is giving off some sort of barrier that is protecting you from your own speeds, almost like a force field. That lightning that sparks around you, I think it's the byproduct of the barrier. Izuku looked at his arms. Interesting. I thought it was only super speed, but it seems like it's so much more. I wonder what else I can do. However, before Izuku could think of anything else, he got a call on his cell phone. Hello? Hey nerd, where are you? Asked Bakugo. Kachen? Oh, I'm with Hatsum at the hut. Why? Asked Izuku. The letter, it's here. Izuku's eyes widened. Unless you want me to open it, you better get home fast. I'll be right there. Don't you dare open it. Ending the call, Izuku turned to Hatsum. Let's go. The decision from UA has arrived. You must have gotten it too. Hatsum smiled. Really? What are we waiting for? Let's go. Picking up Hatsum, Izuku once again ran on water and towards the beach. After collecting their stuff, the two ran towards the train station. Hatsum got off on her stop and Izuku on his. He wanted to use his speed, but didn't want to attract attention. Making it home, Izuku was greeted by Bakugo and his parents. There you are, kid, said Masaru. Sorry about being so late, I was making sure Hatsum got home safe. Izuku then saw the letter in Mitsuki's hand. Thanks for holding on to it. Izuku reached for it, but before he could reach it, Mitsuki pulled the envelope away. Before you open it, we just want you to know that we are so proud of you. I know living with us hasn't been easy for you. That's when Izuku interrupted. I will always be grateful to you, all of you. If it wasn't for you taking me in, I don't know where I would be. No matter what that letter says, I will always be thankful for what you've given me. Mitsuki and Masaru smiled. That's all we want. Here. Grabbing the letter, Izuku went to his room. Sitting down on his desk, he turned on the lamp on his desk and put the letter down. Izuku could feel his heart beating faster and faster with every second he looked at the letter. Taking a deep breath, Izuku readied himself. Come on, Izuku, let's do this. Grabbing the letter, Izuku ripped the envelope in half. But to his surprise, only a circular metal piece fell out. Huh? Is that it? However, as Izuku inspected the device, a light began to shine from it. Dropping it, it landed on his desk, and out popped a holographic image of All Might. Izuku's eyes narrowed when he saw the man that he once idolized. Is this thing on? Oh, it is? Hello? If you don't know who I am, the name is All Might, the #1 hero. Let me start off by saying that we in the hero community are proud that you chose to apply for the hero course. Izuku rolled his eyes. Is this going to take a while? I just want to know if I got in or not. Almost as if All Might was listening, he coughed. But let's get on to what you've been waiting for, to see if you got into UA. Starting off, we have the written part of the entrance exam, and you, Izuku Midoriya, have scored a perfect score. And in record time too, most impressive. However, being smart is not the only thing that makes a hero. You also have to have the quirk to back it up. And here too I must say you did amazing. You destroyed so many robots and so fast that it took us a while to add up your total. After a few hours of counting, we have a grand total of 245 points, which is more than enough. Izuku smiled. But wait, there's more. Destroying robots wasn't the only way to earn points. We also had rescue points. These points were awarded by doing heroic acts, and your son did just that when you saved all of the students from the falling debris, not to mention the girl. For your efforts you earned another 100 points, bringing your total to 345. Not only did you earn a spot in the hero course, you shattered US record. So with that being said, I welcome you Izuku Midoriya to UA. I expect great things from you, and always remember Plus Ultra. With that the small projection of All Might disappeared. Izuku leaned back in his chair. I did it. I actually got in. That's when a wave of emotions fell over him. Izuku clenched his fists as tears ran down his face. I'm doing it, Mom. It will only be a matter of time before I get Dad out of prison. But as the tears kept coming, Izuku suddenly got a call on his cell phone. It was Hatsune. Wiping away the tears he answered, Hey Hatsune. Midoriya, I got into the support department, she said. Izuku could practically feel her excitement. Izuku smiled. That's awesome Hatsune. Guess we'll be seeing each other more often because I got into the hero course. Really? That's amazing Midoriya. But with your speed there was no way you didn't get in. Oh, you know what this means, right? The design I made for you, they are going to make it, said Hatsune. Oh, that's right, I almost forgot about that. If it's alright with you Hatsune, I'd like to add a little something. After talking with Hatsune for a while, Izuku finally hung up the phone and walked out of his room, where he was greeted by all of the Bakugos. So did you get in? Asked Masaru. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, I got in. I'm going to UA to be a hero. Mitsuki hugged Izuku. I don't know how you did it, but I'm so proud of you Izuku. And I know Inko would be too. Izuku returned the hug. Yeah, I know. Bakugo silently leaned against the wall. How the hell did he get in? He didn't cheat, I know that, but there's no way he destroyed any robots, right? This calls for a celebration. We'll make both of your favorite foods tonight since you both got into UA, said Masaru. Kachin, you got in? Asked Izuku, surprised. Bakugo's eye twitched. Why did you say it like that, you damn nerd? But yeah, I got in and you better prepare nerd because now that we're in UA, I'll be competing against you. Izuku smirked. Bring it on. The night went on and Izuku and the Bakugos celebrated. For in a few short weeks Izuku would be one step closer to getting his father out of prison. But unbeknownst to him, he would also take a major step toward his doom. 3 weeks later. It was a clear morning. The sun had just fully gotten over the horizon as Izuku stopped in front of Inko's grave. Now wearing his UA uniform, Izuku wore a long-sleeve, button-up white shirt, a gray jacket with blue-green stripes, a red tie, and dark blue-green pants. Hey Mom, as you know I got into UA, and this is the uniform. Pretty cool, right? He said as he tugged on the jacket. You should have seen the look on Dad's face when he found out I got in. I've never seen him so surprised, happy, proud, and sad all at the same time. It was amazing but concerning at the same time. Izuku then frowned. I know Dad said to give up on him, but I just can't. I know what I saw that night, and now that I'm in UA, I'll prove that he didn't kill you. Well, I got to go. Class starts in an hour, and I don't want to be late for my first day. Bye, Mom. I love you. With that, Izuku ran towards the exit of the cemetery. There he found Bakugo and Hatsune waiting for him. You ready? Asked Bakugo. Izuku nodded. Yeah, I'm ready. Awesome. Then let's get going, said Hatsune, as she wore the same type of uniform, but just with a skirt. It's so weird seeing you in a skirt, Hatsune, commented Bakugo. Hatsune sighed. I know. Couldn't have you given me something more comfortable to wear? Like my workshop pants. I look weird. Izuku shook his head. No, you don't. I think it suits you. Hatsune blushed slightly. Thanks. Bakugo rolled his eyes. If you two are done, I'd rather not be late for my first day at UA. Izuku looked at his phone. They had an hour to get there. All right, no more distractions. 40 minutes later. Now standing in front of US gates once again, Izuku, Hatsune, and Bakugo all walked in. Hatsune soon broke off to go pick up her schedule. Izuku and Bakugo did the same and found that they had the exact same schedule and even the same homeroom. They were in Class 1A. Walking down the halls, Izuku and Bakugo soon found themselves in front of a massive door with a sign that read Class 1A. Hey nerd, you're smart, right? Why are the doors so damn big? Asked Bakugo. Big people with big quirks? I don't know, answered Izuku. Come on, let's go inside. As they slid the door open, they soon came to find that most of the class was already there. "Oh hey, I know that green hair. Yeah, you're that guy who saved me from that robot," said a voice behind Izuku. Turning around, Izuku found that it was Uraraka. "Oh hey, yeah, that's me," said Izuku as he nervously answered. Bakugo ignored her and went to find his seat. When he did, Bakugo kicked his feet up. He relaxed until the start of class. "So you got into UA, huh? That's awesome. I hope we become friends," said Uraraka. However, before Izuku could answer, a figure appeared from behind them. "If you are just here to socialize, then you can leave now." Turning around, the new students found a sleeping bag on the floor. Flipping over it was revealed that someone was inside said sleeping bag. "Take your seats now." Everyone quickly did as they were told. The man got up and hopped over to the podium. "1 minute to quiet down, not bad. Anyway, my name is Aizawa and I'll be your homeroom teacher." Aizawa then pulled out a juice box and drank it. "Now that introductions are out of the way, go put on your gym uniforms and meet me on the field in 10 minutes. The class didn't move. "Did I stutter? You now have 9 minutes. Seeing that he wasn't messing around, the class quickly left the room and went to go get changed. A few minutes later, the entire class was now on the field. "Good, you're all here. Let's begin, shall we?" said Aizawa. That's when Uraraka raised her hand. Excuse me, Mr. Aizawa, what about the opening ceremony?" "If you are serious about being a hero, then we don't have time for that. Bakugo, think fast." Aizawa then tossed a ball at Bakugo, to which he caught with ease. "What was your ball throw record in middle school?" "About 37 meters, answered Bakugo. Aizawa nodded. "Good, now stand in that circle and throw it using your quirk." Bakugo smiled as he walked into the circle. Winding up, Bakugo threw his arm forward. As he did, a massive explosion erupted from his hands. Die. The ball went flying and Izuku stood there, shocked. "Right, I forgot Kachin has that side of him." After a few seconds, Aizawa turned around. "This way we can keep track of your max." Holding a small device, Aizawa showed the distance the ball traveled, 705 meters. The class was now excited. "Whoa, this is going to be great," said a boy with red hair. "Right, we get to use our quirks as much as we want. This is going to be fun," said a girl with pink skin. That's when Aizawa's tone of voice changed. "Fun, you say? All right then, how about this? Whoever gets last overall in this test will be kicked out of the hero course." The class fell silent. "Why, you can't do that, can he?" asked Uraraka. "I can and I will. UA gives us teachers a great deal of liberty when it comes to our classes. Now, let's get started, shall we?" Izuku clenched his fists. There was no way in hell he would get this far just to get kicked out. Aizawa's tests were simple, and the first thing up was a 50-meter dash, to which Izuku smiled at. Bakugo looked at his longtime friend and wondered why he had that smug look on his face. "Just what are you doing?" Walking up to the line, Izuku got into a sprinter's stance. Bakugo's eyes widened when all of a sudden green lightning began to appear around Izuku's body. What the hell? With the sound of a gun, Izuku took off. The person beside him didn't even have time to move when Izuku was already at the finish line. The other student finally reached the end after 15 seconds. The class was stunned. What was his time?" asked a tall girl with black hair. Aizawa looked at the machine. 0.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds. "Damn, I knew my stance was wrong. Maybe I'm having an off day," said Izuku as he walked back to the group. That's when Bakugo walked over to Izuku. "What the hell was that, you damn nerd? Since when do you have a quirk?" "Since I woke up from my coma," explained Izuku. "And you didn't bother to tell me?" asked Bakugo. "Ooh, you never asked?" answered Izuku. "Why the hell would I ask when I know you didn't have a quirk?" asked Bakugo as he shook Izuku. "All right, that's enough. You two get back in line and get ready for the next activity," ordered Aizawa. Bakugo reluctantly let go of Izuku. "You have a lot of explaining to do later." The rest of the tests consisted of push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, standing long jump, side-to-side jumps, and a strength test. Using his speed, Izuku blew past them with ease. It was now time for the final test, the ball throw. One by one, Izuku watched as his classmates got their score. They all scored relatively high. Uraraka got infinity, much to Izuku's surprise. "All right, last but not least, Midoriya, get on over here." Izuku nodded and walked towards the circle. Gripping the ball hard, Izuku took a deep breath and began to activate his speed, but not throughout his body. "All right, Izuku, focus. If you mess up, your arm will get ripped off." The class watched as green lightning appeared only around his arm. "What is he doing?" asked a girl with orange-colored hair. The class had no idea. but watched as his entire arm began to vibrate. It was vibrating so fast that the dust underneath him was being pushed away. Aizawa shielded his eyes, but as he did, Izuku pulled his arm back. As he threw his arm forward, Aizawa activated his quirk, but to his surprise, Izuku didn't lose his speed. What? A small shockwave echoed throughout the field as Izuku let go of the ball. Soon the ball was out of sight. A few seconds later, Aizawa turned around with his score. Not bad, kid. 1,500 meters. How'd you do it? Simple. I used my speed to vibrate my arm fast enough to where it would build kinetic energy. Once I've built enough, I let it go and well, you saw the rest. Explained Izuku. I see. Alright, get back in line. I'll display the rankings in a second. Izuku nodded and went back with the others. A minute later, Aizawa turned around and displayed everyone's rank. Izuku placed first, then followed by Momo Yaoyorozu, Shoto Todoroki, and Bakugo. Izuku smiled. Nice, I got first place. However, not everyone was happy with their scores. A very short boy with purple balls for hair fell to his knees. My dreams are over. I was going to be a hero to get all the hotties, but now my dreams are ruined. The girls in the class looked at the boy with disgust. Actually, that was all a lie, said Aizawa. What? Yelled out most of the class. Honestly, did you guys really think he would kick us out? It was obviously a ruse meant to make sure we tried our best. Explained a tall girl with black hair. This was Momo. Yes, but know that I have kicked out whole classes before. Count yourselves lucky. I see some potential in all of you. Anyway, go get changed and head to the orientation. You should just make it. The class nodded and quickly went off to change. As they were walking away, Aizawa couldn't help but eye Izuku. Why didn't my quirk work on him? Could his speed be affecting my quirk? No, I've fought fast people before and it always worked on them. Just what are you? Final period. Izuku and the others currently sat in their class waiting to be dismissed. So are you going to explain? Asked Bakugo. Izuku raised an eyebrow. I already told you, Kachin. I have no idea how I got powers. My best guess is it was because I got struck by lightning. Don't give me that. That's just insane. How can a lightning bolt give you powers? Asked Bakugo, now slightly more annoyed. Izuku shrugged. Don't know. Look, I don't know what else to tell you. I suddenly woke up with powers and that's that. But if you really want to know how, I'll tell you when we get home. Bakugo was about to say something when the final bell rang. Izuku was packing his stuff when Aizawa walked into the room. Midoriya, come with me. The principal wants to see you. The class all turned to the boy. Okay? He then turned to Bakugo. If you find Hatsune, tell her to go on ahead. After grabbing his stuff, Izuku followed Aizawa to the principal's office. Aizawa knocked and a small voice answered, Come in. Opening the door, Izuku was ushered inside where he found a small bear mouse-looking animal sitting behind a desk and Recovery Girl standing beside said desk. Please have a seat. Would you like some tea? Asked the mouse bear. Still a bit confused as to why he was brought here, Izuku shook his head. No thanks, Principal. Nezu, call me Principal Nezu, said Nezu with a smile. Right, Principal Nezu, why exactly am I here? Did I do something wrong? Asked Izuku. Nezu shook his head. No, nothing like that. We just want to confirm something, so if you just answer our questions, you will be on your way soon. Sure, I guess, said Izuku, not knowing what was going on. Let's get started. Your file says you are quirkless, but you've clearly displayed incredible speed. Did you lie? Asked Nezu. No sir, I didn't. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still quirkless, explained Izuku. Do you mind if you let Recovery Girl draw your blood to double check? It would only be a small prick of the finger, explained Nezu. Okay, presenting his hand, Recovery Girl stabbed Izuku with a small needle just enough to draw a small amount of blood. A few seconds had gone by and Recovery Girl looked at her tablet. The boy is telling the truth. He has no quirk. I can back that up, said Aizawa. When I was testing the class, I tried to stop his speed. But when I used my quirk, it didn't do anything. So I thought about it and assumed one of two things. One, that his speed was somehow canceling out my quirk. Or two, that he had nothing to be erased, meaning no quirk. Nezu nodded. I see, but that still doesn't answer the question. Just how are you able to move your body at such speeds? No idea. About a year ago I was struck by lightning, said Izuku. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. Okay then, care to explain why you found it necessary to use your power to do a hero's work and save people? Izuku knew this was going to happen. That's a serious accusation. Got any proof? We know that whoever saved the girl had green lightning jumping off their body just like you displayed today, explained Aizawa. Also that the person was moving at super speeds. Izuku shrugged his shoulders. That could be any hero. Besides, you never gave a description of this mystery person's face. So even if I said it was me, there's no way you could prove it without seeing the person. And just like you just proved, I got no quirk, so technically not illegal. Aizawa didn't like Izuku's cocky attitude, but he was right. While that may be true, let this be a warning, Midoriya. Do not act on your own accord. Izuku stood up and locked eyes with Aizawa. That almost sounded like a threat, Mr. Aizawa. The air surrounding the two was so thick that Nezu had a hard time breathing. It was only until Recovery Girl's cane came up and smacked Aizawa on the head that things calmed down. She tried to do the same with Izuku, but he dodged, causing her to miss. That's enough, you two. This is no way to start a new semester, said Recovery Girl as she stomped her cane down. Izuku turned to Nezu. Can I go now? Nezu nodded. You may. Bowing slightly, Izuku walked towards the door. He stopped just as he was going to leave. I hope we get along, Mr. Aizawa. Let's make this year one that neither of us forget. With that, Izuku walked out and closed the door behind him. He did it, said Aizawa. Yes, but we can't prove it. Besides, now that he's in UA, there's no way he can do it again. I expect you to forget about this, Aizawa. It was only one time, said Nezu. Aizawa groaned. Fine, but I'm keeping an eye on him. Something about him doesn't fit right with me. Outside of UA, Izuku was walking out of the gates when he suddenly saw Hatsune standing outside. Hatsune, what are you doing here? I thought I told Bakugo to tell you to go on ahead. He did tell me, but I decided to stay. I wanted to hear all about the hero course, said Hatsune excitedly. Izuku smiled. Sure, but you have to tell me about the support department. Deal. Everyone is super nice and smart. I even made a friend, said Hatsune. The two talked about their classes and classmates all the way to the train station. Even on the train ride home they talked and talked. Hatsune talked about a particular girl with blonde hair and aqua blue eyes. She didn't get the girl's name, but Hatsune knew her last name sounded familiar. Home. Now Home Izuku was just barely taking off his shoes when he was grabbed by Bakugo and taken to his room. What the hell? You, powers, speed, explain, again, said Bakugo. All right, relax. Izuku took a deep breath. Where do I even start? Start by telling me how you have powers. Last time I checked you were quirkless, said Bakugo as he sat down in his desk chair. Technically I still am. Recovery Girl just checked. That's actually why I was called into the office. They wanted to find out how I have powers. And I'll tell you what I told them. I don't know, said Izuku. My best guess is that the lightning bolt that hit me somehow changed me and gave me powers. That and the batch of chemicals I fell in. Bakugo scoffed. That's some BS if you ask me. So for how long? Since I woke up. It happened for the first time when that nurse fell. Everything around me slowed down almost to a halt. After that I figured out I had super speed when I saved Hatsune from some falling metal pieces. Ever since then she's been helping me learn and control my powers. Izuku explained. Why? Why would you keep this from me? From the old hag and old man? Asked Bakugo. Izuku looked away. I didn't want to worry you guys. Suddenly finding out that I have powers, it would have worried them. And that's something I don't want to do. You idiot, we are always worried about you. Ever since you came to this house we've been worrying about you. Izuku looked at Bakugo. All they wanted, what we wanted, was to keep you safe. Now that you have powers. Izuku saw what Bakugo was trying to get at. I'm not going anywhere, Kachin. What you've done for me is something I can't ever repay. I'm still me and I will always need you guys in my life. Bakugo smirked. You're goddamn right. Without us, you'd be so lost. Izuku laughed. I will neither confirm nor deny that. So, how fast are you? Asked Bakugo. Fast, very fast, said Izuku. Show me. Green lightning then began to appear around Izuku's body as he quickly ran out of the house. Not even 15 seconds had gone by when Izuku came back. Here. He then tossed something at Bakugo. Catching whatever it was, Bakugo's eyes widened. There's no way. There in his hand was the ball he threw earlier that day. He knew it was his because of the scorch marks on it caused by his explosion. See, I told you, I'm very fast, said Izuku. However, as Izuku talked about his speed, he didn't notice that someone was watching him. Looking out of the window, you could find a 3-story house just a few houses down. There was nothing unusual about the house, except for the fact that there was someone standing on the roof. Their eyes beaming red and their entire face and body vibrating at a speed that distorted their appearance. Yes, get stronger, Izuku. Care about people more. That just means you'll have more people who will miss you when I kill you. The mystery person spoke in a distorted voice. You couldn't tell if they were a man or a woman. With red lightning crackling around the person they took off, within seconds the person ran all around the nearby city. Finally stopping in an alley, they were caught up by a hero. Stop right there. Illegally using your quirk without a hero license is a crime. Please come with me. However, before the hero could even react, the mystery person ran at them. That's when a crunching noise was heard. The hero looked down only to see a hand going through his torso. What did you do to me? Asked the hero as their eyes rolled behind their head. Pulling their arm free, the mystery person revealed a human heart in their hand. I swear by everything, by the time I'm done, I will crush you and everything you love. That's when the mystery person vibrated their hand, causing the heart to burst. Just like you did to me. Turning, the mystery person once again took off, leaving nothing but red lightning behind. Reports of this mystery person would spring up an hour later, but every time a hero would investigate, they would be long gone. I'm just faster. The following day went on as normal, until however it was time for hero study and fundamentals. Normally their teacher would already be here, but to their surprise they weren't. So who do you guys think is going to teach this class? Asked Uraraka. Probably a well-known hero. I heard it was going to be All Might, said Mina, a pink-skinned girl with horns on her head. She was the most active member of the class, to say the least. Everyone then began to talk about who they thought would teach. Meanwhile, Izuku sat in his chair, not saying a word. Hey nerd, you alright? Asked Bakugo. Izuku looked up to see his friend. Oh yeah, I'm fine, just thinking, that's all. You've been out of it since this morning. What gives? You're normally so focused, said Bakugo as he pressed the matter. Izuku sighed. I'm fine catchin', really. Bakugo didn't believe him, but as he was about to say something, a loud booming voice was heard coming from the door. I am coming through the door like a normal person. From the entrance, All Might himself appeared wearing his hero costume. The class, except Izuku, all smiled and cheered for the hero's arrival. All right, settle down please. Now as you can see, I am All Might, and starting today I will be your teacher for hero action and mobility. But first, you all must look the part. Pressing a button on a remote, the wall behind the number 1 hero opened up and out popped suitcases with numbers on them. Each case has your hero costumes designed by the support department, per your instructions of course. Now grab your case and meet me in ground beta. Izuku grabbed his case and looked at it. So, did your girlfriend make it for you? Asked Bakugo, appearing behind Izuku. Izuku turned to his friend. 1, she's not my girlfriend, and 2, yes, Hatsune helped me design it. And before you ask, no, I did not let her turn me into a Terminator. Bakugo clicked his tongue. Damn it, I liked her original design. Well, come on, let's see who looks more badass. With that, the boys went off to change. After a few minutes, they all began to walk out. Bakugo's costume was cool. He had 2 large gauntlets that were shaped as grenades, a tight, sleeveless tank top, and baggy military-style pants. Izuku was the last of the boys to show up. Walking into the sunlight, his costume consisted of a skin-tight, green bodysuit with a mask that covered his forehead and eyes, leaving his mouth exposed. Around his waist was a horizontal gold lightning bolt that wrapped around him. Around his forearms there were the same gold lightning bolts. On his mask he had on 2 small Hermes wings, one on either side of his ears. But the most prominent thing on his suit was a golden ring on his chest, with white filling and a green bolt of lightning going through it. And to top it all off, he went with red combat-style boots. Think of the classic Flash costume, just green and with green boots. I do plan to upgrade his suit later though. And of course, thanks to Hatsune, everything on his suit was fireproof so he wouldn't burn up at his speeds. Whoa, this is a lot less stuff I thought you were going to have, said Bakugo. Izuku laughed. Yeah, Hatsune wanted to add some armor, but I said no, it would be too much weight. Besides, this chest piece is the one thing she insisted on adding. It looks like a normal accessory. What does it do? Asked Bakugo. It monitors my vital signs and metabolism. It scans me and sends all the information to Hatsune, explained Izuku. Bakugo raised an eyebrow. Why Hatsune? Ever since she saw me die multiple times from when I got hit by lightning, Hatsune has been a little more cautious around me. Every time I speed up, she gets scared and starts to think I'm going to have a heart attack or something, said Izuku as he touched the chest piece. Bakugo hummed. So basically Hatsune is the jealous type and this device is an anti-cheating monitor. Looks like Hatsune wants to make sure you are loyal. Izuku blushed. It's not that at all. Bakugo laughed at Izuku's expense. I hate it when you mess with me. His little reaction caused his heart rate to spike up. which led to Hatsune getting an alert on her phone. Pulling out her phone in the middle of class, Hatsune checked on Izuku, but found that everything was normal again. Well, at least I know it's working now. However, as she checked something else, the small invention she was working on suddenly began to smoke. Powerloader, the instructor for the support department, saw the smoke. Hatsune, the device, he yelled out. Finally looking up, Hatsune found the device beginning to spark. Ah, hell. With a loud bang, the entire room filled up with smoke. Luckily, Hatsune was able to duck under the desk just in time. Phew, that was close. Hatsune, you could have blown up the lab. Pay attention to what you're doing, said Powerloader as he fanned away the smoke. Hatsune ignored him. Maybe I can implement a webcam feature into Midoriya's suit. So many good ideas. Back with Izuku, he was still trying to explain why Hatsune wasn't his girlfriend when a voice was heard behind him. Whoa, is that you, Midoriya? I like your costume. Turning around, Izuku found Uraraka standing there. Oh hey Uraraka. He then got a good look at her costume. A spacesuit. Uraraka laughed nervously. Yeah, kinda. But I think there was a mistake though. I didn't mean for it to be skin tight. I probably look weird. Her costume consisted of a black and pink bodysuit, with a pink design going down her torso. She also had 2 circular wrist-mounted guards and a helmet with a visor. No, not at all. I think you look great, said Izuku. Uraraka blushed slightly. Why, you really think so? Thanks. Hey nerd, if you don't stop flirting, I'm telling Hatsune, said Bakugo with a smug look on his face. Izuku turned and narrowed his eyes. Go ahead, I'm not doing anything bad. My god, you are dense. Whatever, don't say I didn't warn you, said Bakugo as he went off to pester his other classmates. Oh right, Midoriya, I've been meaning to talk to you about something, said Uraraka. Oh yeah, sure, what's up, asked Izuku. Well, it's more like a question actually. So a while ago someone saved me from some thugs who tried to mug me, and the person who saved me had green lightning jumping off of them and ran really fast. Izuku's eyes widened. My question is, was that? However, before Uraraka could finish that sentence, All Might appeared. Alright everyone, settle down, it's about time we get this class started. But before we do, I must say you all look like full-fledged heroes already. Now onto the exercise for today. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, we'll talk later, okay? Ochako nodded. Now, this exercise will be a step up from the entrance exam. Today you will split up into 2 teams of 2. One team will be heroes, the other villains. The stage will be inside a building. There you will find a replica bomb. This bomb will be protected by the villains, and the heroes must find and disarm the bomb by touching it in order to win. The villains must capture or defeat the heroes or let the time run out. Teams will be drawn at random in this box. Does everyone understand? Asked All Might. The class all nodded. Good, let's get started, shall we? First we pick the villains. Reaching into the box, All Might pulled out 2 names. Bakugo and Kirishima will be the villains. Now for the heroes. Reaching once again into the box, the number 1 hero pulled out 2 names. Midoriya and Uraraka, you will be the heroes. Izuku smiled. Well, Kachin, time to find out which one of us is better. Bakugo smirked. Bring it on, nerd. I'll show you why the kids in middle school never messed with me. Both teams were given 10 minutes to get ready. The villains went inside to set up the bomb. Bakugo adjusted his gauntlets as Kirishima, a red-haired boy, hyped himself up. So do you think we can win? Asked Kirishima. Bakugo looked up. Probably. The nerd may be fast, but I've spent enough time with him to know what he's up to. The girl is different. She can use her quirk in a variety of ways. That makes her a difficult opponent. Outside the building, Izuku and Uraraka looked over the building's blueprints. So Midoriya, got a plan? Asked Uraraka. Izuku had his mask off and was talking fast, so fast in fact that Uraraka couldn't tell what he was saying. Midoriya? Hello? Izuku suddenly snapped back to reality. Huh, what? Sorry, I was thinking of ways to win. Uraraka smiled. It's fine, so what's the plan? You run in there in a second and touch the bomb. Normally I would do that, but since I don't know what the other guy's quirk is, I won't do that. I was thinking of scouting out first and checking every floor for the bomb. Once I find it, we'll work our way up and take them by surprise, explained Izuku. Sounds like a plan, let's do this, said Uraraka as she put on her helmet. Right. With that, Izuku once again pulled his mask over his face and readied himself. Although, knowing Kachin, he'll probably come after me first. Observation room. Since the area around the several-story tall building was considered dangerous, due to the fact that the kids were able to use their quirks freely, All Might moved the class to an observation room. Inside, the class stood and watched everything that was going on inside the building. All right, class, make sure to pay attention to your classmates. This will be the perfect opportunity to prepare for your own test, explained All Might. That's when All Might pressed a button on the console. The test will begin on my mark. If I see things going bad, I'll stop the match right away. So with that, let the first test begin. A loud buzzer was heard signaling the start of the test. With Izuku and Uraraka. Izuku took off and checked the first 4 floors and came back to inform Uraraka that the coast was clear. The two of them then made their way into the building. Making up the first 4 floors with ease, they then made it to the 5th floor. This floor was rather dangerous since it had narrow hallways and quick turns you could easily get ambushed in. This is weird, we are halfway up the building and still no sight of them, said Uraraka as they walked down a dimly lit pathway. It is a bit strange, Kachin should have come after me by now, said Izuku as he was just about to turn a corner. However, as he did, Izuku came face to face with Bakugo's hand. Izuku's eyes widened as he knew what this meant. Activating his speed, green lightning began to spark off of his body. But by the time he activated his speed, an explosion had already manifested in Bakugo's hand. Izuku could have dodged it easily, but if he did, the blast would have hit Uraraka. With no other option, Izuku turned and managed to pick up Uraraka. But as he turned to run, the heat from the explosion managed to singe his back. Uraraka didn't even see it coming, but after a few seconds the sound of an explosion rocked the hall. Looking around, she noticed the fireball down the hall, where she just was. What the? What's wrong, nerd? Didn't see that coming? Asked Bakugo as he pushed aside the smoke. Putting down Uraraka, Izuku turned and faced his friend. A sneak attack, Kachin? I didn't think you'd do something so cowardly. Bakugo shrugged as he walked towards him. Whatever it takes to win, I suppose. Izuku stepped up to Bakugo. Change of plans, Uraraka. You go on ahead and find the bomb. I'll stay here and deal with Kachin. Are you sure? We can fight him together, said Uraraka. Izuku smiled. I'm sure. Besides, this won't take long. Nodding, Uraraka decided to trust her teammate. All right, I'll go. But if anything happens, make sure to call for backup. I will. Now go. With that, Uraraka ran away up the stairs and up to the next floor. The two friends looked at each other. You ready, nerd? Asked Bakugo. Try and keep up, said Izuku as green lightning began to jump off of his body. Bakugo was the first to move. Using his explosions, he propelled himself forward. Izuku took a step and began to run. The two then clashed in the middle. Bakugo raised his hand to fire an explosion, but Izuku used his speed to move out of the way. Slowing down, Izuku pulled back his fist to hit Bakugo, but that's when Bakugo turned and fired an explosion. Izuku tried to move back, but the explosion caught up to him and launched him back and through a wall. Breaking the wall, Izuku rolled on the ground before coming to a stop. Groaning in pain, Izuku got up with dust covering his costume. You may be fast, but your moves are too linear. And since I've known you since we were little, I know your every move, said Bakugo as he appeared from the hole in the wall. Man, and here I thought with my speed I would get the drop on you. Izuku sighed. Well, guess it's time to kick it up a notch. Bakugo knew exactly what Izuku was planning. He's going to rush me again. Once he gets in close, I'll hit him with another blast. However, at that moment, Bakugo suddenly felt something hit his face. What the? He then felt it again. Bakugo tried to look up, but every time he did, something would punch him across the face. What's wrong, Kachin? Asked Izuku as he zoomed past Bakugo, punching him in the face once again. Too fast for you. Bakugo now had blood running down the side of his lip. Don't get cocky, nerd. Pointing his palms to the floor, Bakugo fired an explosion. The blast hit Izuku as he went in for another punch. Damn it. Sliding to a stop, Izuku looked up to see Bakugo was gone. Where did he? Looking all around, Izuku couldn't find him. It was only until he looked towards the ceiling that he found Bakugo falling towards him. With green lightning sparking, Izuku sped up, changing his perception to slow motion. Grabbing Bakugo out of the air, he ran towards a wall. As Izuku's perception of time returned to normal, Bakugo found himself slamming into a wall. I told you before, Kachin, I'm fast, said Izuku as he stood leaning against a pillar. Getting up, Bakugo was seen with blood running down his nose. Why you? Alright, fine. Let's see if you can get yourself out of this. Raising his hand, Bakugo grabbed one of the pins on his gauntlets. Izuku's eyes widened. You wouldn't. Bakugo smirked. Try me. In the observation room, All Might knew what Bakugo was planning. Young Bakugo, don't. An explosion of that magnitude could kill him. yelled All Might through the speakers. Not if he's fast enough, responded Bakugo. That's when Izuku heard the ping of a pin being pulled out. Izuku once again activated his speed, but in the split second that it took to turn it on, Bakugo's explosion had already fired. The fireball had already filled up the room from floor to ceiling. There was no running out of this for Izuku. Damn it, I didn't think he would actually fire off the nitroglycerin stored in his gauntlets. Come on, Izuku, think. There has to be something you can do to get out of this. He then thought back to his training with Hatsune and a certain maneuver they were testing out. Sorry about this, Hatsune. I know you wanted to see this, but... With green lightning crackling around him, Izuku began to run. At first everyone thought he was going to rush in and take the explosion head on, but as he neared the fireball, Izuku began to spin. Faster and faster Izuku spun his body. Within milliseconds the rotation of his body caused a tornado. The class looked on in surprise, but they were even more surprised to see that the fireball from Bakugo's explosion was being sucked up by the whirlwind. With the recoil of his blast forcing him back, Bakugo winced in pain. Ha! Take that, you damn nerd! As Bakugo watched the fire burn, he suddenly felt a strong wind pull him slightly. What the? Then came the tornado. His fire then wrapped around it, taking away its flame and turning it to a spiral flaming windstorm. The entire room was filled with wind and fire as Izuku continued to spin. But now a new problem arose. What the heck am I going to do with this? If he kept this on, the walls of the building would soon explode outward thanks to the pressure of the heat. That's when Izuku had an idea. Hey Uraraka, can you hear me? He asked through his earpiece. Why yeah, I can hear you. Man, is it just me or is the heat turned up here? Asked Uraraka as she hid behind a pillar. Where are you now? Asked Izuku. I'm on the 8th floor. I found the bomb in Kirishima. Currently hiding behind a pillar so he doesn't detect me. Explained Uraraka. Izuku nodded. The 8th floor, alright, get ready to run for the bomb. What? I mean sure, but do you have something planned? Asked Uraraka. Yeah, I do. Let's just say things are about to get more hot. You'll know what I mean when you see it. With that, Izuku went back to the tornado. Alright, I'll only get one chance at this. That's when Izuku increased this speed. The heat from the fire tornado was shattering glass, and the metal beams in the room started to creak. The class then watched as Izuku jumped up and launched the fire tornado towards the roof. Once it made contact with the ceiling, it completely shattered and kept climbing up and up. On the 8th floor, Uraraka was waiting for the signal when it suddenly came to her. Bursting from the floor was Izuku's fire tornado. As it rose up, the heat hit both Uraraka and Kirishima. This must be the signal. Disoriented Kirishima could only shield his eyes from the heat as the tornado flew through the floor. Down on the ground, Bakugo finally pieced together what was going on. I need to take you down before I lose, he said, launching himself with his explosions. Izuku wasn't paying attention when Bakugo came in and slammed into his side. The two tumbled to the ground. Izuku used his speed to get up, but found Bakugo's hand in front of him. This fight isn't over, nerd, said Bakugo as he rapidly began to fire off explosions. With green lightning seemingly circling around him, and try as he must, Bakugo couldn't hit Izuku. Damn it! Why can't I hit you? Izuku then came in and hit Bakugo with a powerful uppercut which sent him flying up. Jumping up, Izuku then appeared in mid-air and kicked Bakugo back down to the ground. Simple, said Izuku. Hitting the floor hard, Bakugo laid on his back for a second before sitting upright. Standing in front of him was Izuku, his eyes burning with green lightning. I'm just faster. That's when a loud buzzer was heard. The bomb has been captured. Heroes win, announced All Might through the speakers. On the 8th floor, Uraraka was seen hugging the bomb. Kirishima was stuck in the wall. He got there when Uraraka decided to use a broken piece of the concrete pillar. I got it, said Uraraka, dripping with sweat. Bakugo sighed and hung his head. Damn it, I lost. That's when Izuku reached out and offered Bakugo a hand up. You almost had me. I was surprised to know that you could tell where I would show up. Bakugo smiled. Reaching out, he grabbed Izuku's hand and got up. Bullshit, I almost had you. You were holding back this entire time, weren't you? You can still go faster. Izuku smirked. I don't know what you're talking about. The two then looked at each other and laughed. Yeah, whatever. After all these years, I know when you hold back. And you did. A lot, said Bakugo as medbots came in to help. At first, Bakugo refused to be taken, but Izuku convinced him otherwise. Go get healed up. You can lecture me later. As the bots took Bakugo away, Uraraka appeared. Midoriya, we won. We did it. Izuku nodded. We sure did. We make a pretty good team. We sure do. Still though, did you have to really turn up the heat like that? I was cooking alive in my suit. said Uraraka. Izuku laughed nervously. Sorry about that, it was the only way I could see to get out of that explosion. It's fine, but maybe next time give me a heads up. Izuku nodded. Great. Students, please make your way towards the observation room for your evaluation, announced All Might. Heading up to the observation room, Izuku removed his mask, finally letting his hair puff out. You all did extremely well for your first time. The villains may have lost, but they proved to be worthy opponents. Now can anyone tell me who is the MVP of this exercise? That's when a tall girl with long black hair raised her hand. That would have to be Midoriya. He demonstrated quick but rational moves that secured his victory. Not to mention his speed, he utilized it at its fullest, and with Uraraka's help they were coordinated. All Might was stunned. Right, you are young Yoirazu. That's all I wanted to say and more actually. Good job, now let's move on to the next pair. As the rest of the class went and participated in the exercise, Izuku watched and took mental notes on everyone's quirks. But it was one that stood out to him. A boy with dual-colored hair had the power of ice and fire, but refused to use his fire. Izuku narrowed his eyes at the boy. His ice makes him someone I should look out for. It was now the end of class and everyone had gone. Even Bakugo had come back from the nurse's office. Well done everyone, you all showed potential of being great heroes. For those who didn't pass, remember to take this experience and learn from it. And always go plus ultra. With that the class was dismissed, but as All Might took off he turned a corner and suddenly began to produce smoke. Man, I barely had enough time to teach a class. I wonder if I can keep this up, asked All Might as he appeared from the smoke in a skinny form. School went on as normal, and now it was time to go home. Bakugo went off to hang out with Kirishima. Apparently they became friends. This left Izuku to walk out of the campus with Uraraka. So you haven't done it again, she asked. Izuku shook his head. Nope, you were the only person I saved outside of school. Mr. Aizawa actually found out about what happened and warned me not to do it again. But I did get the feeling that he doesn't like me much. But just as Uraraka was about to say something, someone tackled him from behind. Midoriya. Izuku sighed as the person wrapped their arms around his chest. Hatsune, how many times do I have to tell you? You're not little anymore. Jumping off his back, Hatsune smiled. I know, but sneaking up on you is just as easy as it was since we were little. Right, besides, aren't you embarrassed doing this in front of others? Asked Izuku. Hatsune shook her head. Nope, 'cause I have no idea who she is. Oh right, Hatsune, this is Uraraka, my classmate. Uraraka, this is Hatsune, a very annoying friend, said Izuku. Uraraka let out a nervous laugh. Hi. That's when Hatsune turned and looked at Uraraka. Nice to meet you. Hey Hatsune, aren't you forgetting someone? Asked someone behind them. Turning, the group found a rather tall girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and who was wearing glasses. Oh, sorry about that. Guys, this is Melissa Shield. She's one of my classmates, said Hatsune. Izuku froze. Shield, you wouldn't happen to be related to David Shield, right? Melissa giggled. He's my father, actually. Izuku's jaw dropped to the floor. And there it is, that was my same reaction when I found out, said Hatsune. She then walked over to Izuku. Let me help you out with that. Pushing up his jaw, Hatsune closed his mouth. Once it was closed, it seemed as if Izuku rebooted. Wow, that's amazing. Your father is the pioneer of modern hero tech. His inventions have revolutionized the hero support world. In both the USA and Japan, you two are known as the modern-day super inventors. And that's not mentioning your hand in all of it too. I saw your name on some of those inventions too. Melissa was surprised. Wow, you weren't kidding, Hatsune. He really is a fanboy. Izuku's face turned red. Sorry about that. It's fine, always happy to meet a fan of my father's work. That's when Melissa extended out her hand. As Melissa is half American and half Japanese, she constantly switched between both forms of greetings. I'm not sure if Melissa is American, but blonde hair and blue hair sounds pretty American or European to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. Izuku wasn't too sure at first, but he ultimately reached out, shook her hand and smiled. Thanks for looking out for Hatsune. She can be a handful sometimes. Melissa smiled. I've been doing it for a bit, but from what I heard you've been doing it for a while. She then turned to Uraraka and introduced herself as well. With introductions out of the way, the four of them walked to the train station. Uraraka went the same way as Izuku and Hatsune, but it was Melissa who went the other way. They said their goodbyes and went their separate ways, but before they went home, Izuku and Hatsune decided to go to the hut for a while to test some things out. Going inside the hut, Izuku took off his shirt so Hatsune could get a scan of his body. Looks like everything is normal, no abnormal residue or problems with bone structure. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. When I spun my body, I thought I was going to rip apart. Putting down the scanner, Hatsum got closer to Izuku. So tell me why you decided to redirect an explosion again. At your speeds, couldn't you just run? Well, about that, the room we were in was small, and by the time I noticed, all the exits were blocked by the explosion, said Izuku, trying to explain his reasoning. Hatsum narrowed her eyes. Right, anyway, since we're done here, I may head home. You're not going to stick around for a bit? Asked Izuku. Hatsum began to pack up her stuff. I would, but I promised my parents I would eat dinner with them. Izuku nodded. Ah, makes sense. All right, well, have fun, I guess. I'll just stick around for a bit before heading home. Try not to get struck by lightning again, said Hatsum with a smirk on her face. Izuku rolled his eyes. I won't. Besides, I'm pretty sure I can dodge lightning now. Tests for another day, by Midoriya. With that, Hatsum left the hut. Izuku stayed behind and began to practice on some moves he was keeping secret from Hatsum. If she found out what he was doing, she would most likely lose her mind trying to build a baby. Normally, Izuku would stay until he finished, but thanks to this secret, he needed more time. A few hours had passed, and the sun was now setting. Putting down his tools, Izuku took a deep breath and looked outside to see the sun setting. It's almost there. Hatsum is going to love this when it's done. Grabbing the object, Izuku put it in a box and hid it behind some wires. I should get home. Mitsuki is going to worry. A few minutes later, Izuku was walking out of the hut when he saw something, or rather someone. There, standing on the walkway, was someone wearing a version of Izuku's costume, just opposite in color, or rather the reverse. Izuku tried to get a look at their face, but he noticed that they were vibrating it in order to hide themselves. Who are you? Asked Izuku. The mystery person let out a muffled and distorted laugh. Don't you recognize me, Izuku? No, actually you wouldn't. You were just a kid back then. Izuku approached the person. We've met before? Yes, years ago. I'd say about 3 years ago, answered the mystery person. Izuku stopped at the bottom of some steps. Funny, I don't remember you. Then maybe this will jog your memory. The person raised up their hand as red lightning began to spark around it. Do you remember now? Izuku's eyes widened. Why you son of a bitch. With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku ran at the person at full speed. He was moving faster than he was at the exercise today. Climbing up the stairs, he was just about to reach the person when they too began to emit red lightning. The person then sidestepped out of the way, causing Izuku to stumble and trip. Sliding to a stop, Izuku got up and balled his fist. To slow Izuku, want to try again? Mocked the person. Gritting his teeth, Izuku once again activated his speed. Simultaneously, the mystery person did the same and took off running. Izuku quickly gave chase. The two then ran into the city, zigzagging through the streets and running past people, cars, and multiple city blocks in a matter of seconds. They then took the chase to the water, where the mystery person seemed to slow down, allowing Izuku the chance he needed to strike. Now side by side with the person, Izuku noticed the red glow of their eyes. He then tried to throw a punch, but the person simply ducked under. Izuku got frustrated and began to throw a volley of punches, but none would hit. Were you the one who killed my mom? Yelled Izuku as they continued to run across the water at super speeds. The mystery person stayed quiet. Answer me. However, instead of answering him, the mystery person caught one of his punches and threw him to the side. Izuku hit the ocean and bounced, but even before he could hit the water again, the mystery person ran in and grabbed Izuku by the arm. What followed was the mystery person dragging him along all throughout Japan. The mystery person ran through the rainforests in Kyushu, causing Izuku to slam against the trees, breaking them on impact. They even went through major cities, running through buildings. After what felt like forever to Izuku, they ended up back where it all started. With a red flash of lightning, the mystery person stopped and threw Izuku into the sand. With blood running down his face and lips, Izuku slowly began to pick himself up, but even before he could say anything, the mystery person came in and kneed Izuku in the gut. Falling to his knees, Izuku grabbed his stomach and gasped for air. That's when the mystery person ran up to Izuku and grabbed him by the hair, pulling his head back. You are so slow, Izuku. With a super speed uppercut, Izuku was sent flying into the hut. Crashing through the metal walls of the hut, he let out groans of pain. I don't know who you are, so tell me, who are you? Asked Izuku as he spit out blood. I guess you can call us friends. We have been doing this for a while now, Izuku. Wherever we run, there is death. Running at Izuku, the mystery person put him in a chokehold. Just like the day your mother died. Hearing that, Izuku tried to break out of the hold with his speed, but the mystery person countered it with his own and began to choke him harder. Now with his lungs no longer getting air, Izuku began to faint, but right before he was the mystery person let him go. You're not even worth killing yet, Izuku. There's still something you have to do, and once you do it, I will kill you. With that, the mystery person ran out of the hut with red lightning crackling behind them. Izuku laid on the floor in pain. They killed mom. They killed mom. They killed mom, is all Izuku could repeat over and over again. A while later, Izuku managed to heal enough to stand, but the cuts and bruises on his face weren't healing as fast as they should. Making his way home, Izuku somehow managed to sneak past Mitsuki and Masaru. But once he was taking off his blood-stained clothes, Bakugo walked into his room. Hey nerd, about this afternoon you probably shouldn't. Bakugo then saw the bruises on Izuku's body. What happened? Izuku stayed silent. Izuku, what happened? Bakugo only called Izuku by his first name when he was either angry or worried. Balling up his fist, Izuku turned to Bakugo. It was them. Who? Asked Bakugo. The person who killed mom. The person in the red lightning. I found them. Bakugo's eyes widened. Unknown location. Two shadows sat in a room with one of them holding up a newspaper. It seems the rumors of All Might being a teacher at UA are true. So it seems. Should we proceed with the plan? The other asked. The shadow nodded. Yes, Master is getting things ready on his end. Before long the world will see their symbol of peace fall before their eyes. However, as the two men discussed their future plans, a red lightning bolt shot into the room they were in. The red glow partially illuminated the faces of the two individuals. I heard you have something planned. Can I join? The reverse. After sleeping it off, and some explaining, Izuku woke up the next morning to find his face was still slightly bruised. He touched the area that was still a bit black and winced in pain. Oh, man, why hasn't this healed properly? Is it because he was faster? Ignoring it, Izuku finally got his things together and headed off to school with Bakugo. The two walked in silence as they made it to where Hatsune was. Oh, hey, you two. Did you see the... Hatsune didn't finish the sentence when she saw Izuku's injured face. What happened? She asked in a serious voice, which was uncommon for her. Izuku kept walking. Nothing. Come on, we'll be late to school. Hatsune watched as Izuku began to walk away. He's been like this since last night. He finally found the person who killed Auntie Inko, and they just beat him up, said Bakugo. What? He found the person who killed his mom? Asked Hatsune, surprised. So the person in the red lightning is real? Bakugo nodded. Last night, while he was leaving the hut, they met. From what the nerd told me, they also had super speed, yet they were faster. Much faster. Hatsune turned to Izuku. Midoriya. The three arrived at school and noticed a heavy media presence. Some even came up to them and asked if they were hero students and if they wanted to comment on All Might being a teacher at UA. Unfortunately for them, Izuku and Bakugo didn't stick around to answer any of their questions. Some tried to get in, but UA's security door slammed in their faces before they could get in. Hatsune had to leave for her classes, but promised that they would hang out during lunch and talk about what happened. It was now homeroom and Izuku sat in his seat with his head down and hiding his bruises, that is until someone approached. Hey Midoriya, you alright? Asked Uraraka. Izuku sighed and looked up at Uraraka. Whoa, what happened? I got into a fight with someone, said Izuku. A fight? After school? Wow, I hope you got a few good hits in, said Uraraka. Izuku let out a small chuckle. I sure as hell did. As they talked, Aizawa walked into the room. Alright everyone, quiet down. I'm going to go over the results of your exercise with All Might. Bakugo, Kirishima, work together next time. If you guys did, you might have one. Bakugo crossed his arms. I didn't need help anyway. Now, Midoriya and Uraraka, although you won, your victory felt like more of a fluke than anything else. You got lucky, to put it simply, especially you Midoriya. You egged Bakugo on, and it almost got you hurt. An injured hero is a liability on the battlefield, remember that? Izuku nodded. Aizawa continued with the other students, but at this point Izuku wasn't paying attention. I knew there was a person in the red lightning, and now that I know he exists, Dad can finally get out of prison. And so, you will be picking your class president and vice president. I don't care how you do it, just get it done before class ends, said Aizawa. Everyone but Izuku raised their hand. Me, I want to do it. No, it should be me, they all kept yelling out. The yelling snapped Izuku back to reality. Eventually Momo raised her hand. I say we vote. It's the easiest and most effective way of choosing someone. The class agreed, and they then began to hand out slips of paper. Once finished, they counted up the votes. Aizawa nodded. All right, Midoriya will be your president with 3 votes and Yaoyorozu will be vice president with 2. All right, who voted for the nerd? Asked Bakugo as he noticed he only got one vote himself. Izuku was surprised. Huh? Why me? Because of what you did yesterday, said Kirishima. You fought well and you saved your teammate from harm. That's someone I can follow. The class nodded. Oh, well, I guess I'm class president now. The day went on as normal, but for Izuku it felt as if everything was slowed down. He kept thinking about the fight, about the person in the red lightning, and about his dad. At one point Present Mike called on him multiple times, but Izuku kept dozing off. It was finally time for lunch, and as Bakugo left with Kirishima and others, Izuku stayed behind. Finally getting up, he walked out the roof and found Uraraka and a girl named Tsuyu waiting. Oh, you're finally out, said Uraraka. Izuku was confused. You waited for me, why? Because you've been acting weird all day and we want to know why, said Tsuyu quite bluntly. Not to mention that you have bruises on your face and arms. Izuku sighed. Blunt as ever I see Tsuyu. Call me Tsu, said Tsu. Blinking a couple of times. Right, Tsu. Uraraka, thanks for checking up on me, but I'm fine really. Midoriya, yelled out someone as they wrapped Izuku in a hug. It's lunchtime. Yes, Hatsune, I know it's lunchtime, said Izuku, slightly embarrassed that Hatsune did it again. Come on, let's go eat. Melissa is saving us a table. Hatsune then looked at Tsu and Uraraka. You guys can come too. Still a bit surprised that Hatsune came out of nowhere, the two girls stood in shock. But after a while they agreed and all went to the cafeteria. After getting their food, the four went over to a table and found Melissa waiting for them. There you are, Hatsune. I was starting to think you went back to the lab. Hatsune took a seat. Nah, if I skip lunch again, Midoriya will be mad at me. Izuku and the rest all sat down as well. I get mad because you once forgot to eat for 3 days while you worked on a baby. Hatsune shrugged. You can't stop good work, Midoriya. The girls laughed. That's when Melissa noticed someone new. Oh, I don't believe we've met. Melissa Shield, it's nice to meet you. Tsu smiled. Tsuyu Asui, but call me Tsu. So I've been meaning to ask a hero student this, but I haven't gotten around to it. But now that there are 3 hero students here, I'll ask. Why become heroes? Asked Melissa. Izuku stopped eating as he was not expecting such a question. The first one to answer was Tsu. Well, Ribbit, I have a big family, so I want to be a hero to make sure they don't get hurt. Next up was Uraraka. She nervously scratched her head. Mine isn't as noble as Tsu's, but I'm doing it for the money. The entire table was surprised. The money? They all said at the same time. Uraraka waved her hands in front of her. Don't get me wrong, I still want to save people. But my parents own a construction company and things have been rough these last few years. So I want to sign up for a good hero agency so I can help my mom and dad. Izuku smiled. That's a great reason, Uraraka. I'm sure your parents are proud. Uraraka blushed slightly. Thanks. So what about you, Midoriya? Why do you want to be a hero? Asked Melissa. Everyone turned to Izuku. Fine, I'll tell you, but it's not a happy story. I want to be a hero to get my dad out of prison. When I was 11, someone came into our house and killed my mom. The police blamed my dad, but I know he's innocent. And once I become a hero, I'll prove it. Wow, your reason is a noble one, said Melissa. Uraraka nodded. Yeah, I hope you prove your dad's innocence. Do the police have any idea who could have done it? Yeah, I've told them multiple times that it was someone in red lightning. But they kept telling me that I was lying or I was misinterpreting what happened that day due to trauma. I know what I saw and I know that they were the ones who did it, said Izuku, slamming his fist onto the table. That's when Hatsune reached out and grabbed Izuku's fist. You'll find them, I know you will. Izuku smiled. Thanks guys, it means a lot. So are you two dating or something? Asked Tsu out of nowhere. Hatsune and Izuku turned and looked at the girl before looking at each other. And no, we aren't, said Izuku with a slight blush around his cheeks. That's right, we've been friends for a while, but nothing like that, said Hatsune, also blushing slightly. Uraraka for her part found herself feeling a bit jealous. At another table, Bakugo suddenly snapped his head up. Something just happened with the nerd and the inventor. Back with Izuku, Tsu looked at the two, still not convinced. Right, by the way, how did you get those bruises? Izuku was about to make up an excuse when all of a sudden an alarm rang out in the cafeteria. Getting up from their seats, everyone looked around. What's going on? Asked Uraraka. I don't know, but something must have happened inside of the school, theorized Tsu. Izuku looked over at Hatsune, who nodded. Go. In a flash of green lightning, Izuku zoomed out of the cafeteria and ran around the school looking for the source of the trouble. Eventually, he made it to the entrance where he found the massive metal gate of US entrance broken down. The security door was breached, but how? From what Hatsune told me, that door is virtually unbreakable. Looking at the building, Izuku watched in slow motion as the teachers began to rush the reporters. Seeing that they would have everything under control in a bit, Izuku took off towards the cafeteria, but not before running past the destroyed door and noticing it was turned to ash. With a gust of wind blowing past as he ran, Izuku went back to the others. But as he did, Aizawa saw a flash of green lightning past him and immediately knew who it was. That damn kid, he needs to learn to be more responsible with his speed. If he doesn't, it might get someone killed. Back in the cafeteria, Hatsune, Tsu, and Melissa were trying to get out but couldn't thanks to the panic of the other students. Everyone rushed the exit at the same time, causing a massive pileup to occur. "You guys all right?" asked Izuku as he appeared standing at a nearby table. "Barely hanging on over here," said Uraraka as she was being pushed by others. "Everyone is in a panic, Ribbit," said Tsu. "They have to calm down or someone is going to get hurt," said Melissa. "The question then becomes how." Hatsune thought about it and then got an idea. "Midoriya," she called out. Izuku turned. "Do the thing. Maybe you can stop them from panicking." Izuku wasn't too sure. "I haven't used that move outside of the lab, Hatsune." "Are you sure it's safe?" Hatsune shrugged. "Great. Oh well, got to find out sooner or later." While standing on the table, Izuku began to move his arm, rapidly causing green lightning to spark from just his arm. A few moments later, Izuku had generated enough electrical energy around his arm and began to focus it. It traveled down his arm and towards this hand, all as Izuku threw his arm forward. As the crowd panicked, a green lightning bolt struck the area above the exit. What followed was a loud boom. The whole cafeteria fell silent. They all turned to find Izuku standing on the table with his arm sparking green. "Everyone calm down. It's just the media. They somehow find their way inside. But there's no reason to panic. The teachers are kicking them out as we speak. So can we please go back to enjoying our lunch?" The students began to mutter, but ultimately began to walk back to their tables. Sighing, Izuku got off the table. "Well, that was easier than I thought." "Wow, Midoriya, you actually pulled it off. How did it feel?" asked Hatsune. "It felt like my entire arm was twitching. Honestly, it felt strange. But it worked, so I ain't complaining," said Izuku. Hatsune's eyes gleamed. "We need to make some new gear for you. Oh, maybe even some support devices." "Maybe later, Hatsune. For now, let's go back to eating," said Izuku. "Nice one, Midoriya. Thanks to you, it seems no one got hurt," said Melissa. Izuku nodded. "Thanks. And yeah, that's the important part. Come, let's head back. I'm still hungry." The day went on, and it was now time to go home, but as Bakugo walked out of the school, he got a text on his phone. Reading the message, he sighed. "You shouldn't have gone alone, you damn nerd." Prison. Izuku was once again led into the visitors area and sat down on a chair waiting for his dad to be brought in. This time, however, Izuku was worried, and as his dad was brought in, he instantly knew something was wrong with his son. Hisashi sat down and grabbed the phone to talk. "Looking good in the uniform, kid. It suits you." Izuku let out a small chuckle. "Thanks, Dad." That's when Hisashi noticed the bruises on Izuku's face. "Get into a fight, Izuku? I'd think with your speed you'd be untouchable." Izuku sat in silence as he tried to hold back his emotions. "Izuku, everything all right?" After a while, Izuku shook his head. "I messed up, Dad. And after all this time, I found them. I found the person who killed Mom. The person in the red lightning. They are out there. Last night we fought." Hisashi's eyes widened. "But they were just so much faster than I was. They beat me up and got away. I was so close. If I just would have been faster, I could have brought them in and had them confess, but now every day you spend in this prison is my fault. Because I wasn't fast enough." Tears began to run down Izuku's face. "I'm so sorry, Dad." "Izuku," Hisashi called to his son, but his voice was cut out thanks to Izuku's sobs. "Izuku, this is not your fault. Look at me." Wiping the tears away, Izuku looked at his father. "What you've given up these last couple of years is not someone your age should have done. Most, if not all, your decisions you've made were because of what happened to me and your mom. What you wanted to study, why you wanted to be a hero, and even with Hatsune." Izuku was confused. "Hatsune? What does she have to do with this?" Hisashi smiled. "Izuku, you're my son. Do you think I don't know how you have a crush on her? The way you talk about her on your visits, that look in your eye is the same one I had when I first met your mom. You're in love, kid. And I bet she likes you too. But you've been too busy looking for this person in the red lightning to see it. You are 14 years old, for goodness sakes, Izuku. You should be going out with your friends, going to the mall, having your first crush. Heck, get into trouble, just live your life. So listen to me and listen well. Stop letting the person in the red lightning dictate your life. They've already taken more than enough from us. It's time to stop. I won't stop you from becoming a hero, but please don't let the person in the red lightning control your life. After their little exchange, Izuku left the prison and walked to the train station. All while thinking about what his father told him, maybe I should. There was still an hour or two of sunlight left, so Izuku decided to go down to the hut and see if Hatsune was there. She was. Oh hey Midoriya, Bakugo told me you went to visit your dad. Since you seemed off all day, I was starting to worry. Izuku composed himself. I'm fine, just needed some time alone, that's all. Hatsune nodded. That's good, look about what happened last night. I know you don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. But if you ever need someone to talk to, you know I'm here for you. I know, and thanks, it means a lot to me to know that you have my back. Izuku then walked over to his work area. And I know it might be a bit early for this, but I'll give it to you now. Digging into his stuff, Izuku pulled out a small box. Walking over to Hatsune, he opened it up, revealing a necklace inside. Hatsune's eyes widened. What? It's for your birthday. I made it while you weren't looking. The necklace was made of pieces of scrap metal, which Izuku melted down, reshaped, and polished into the shape of a gear with a small pink heart pendant in the middle. Midoriya, reaching out, Hatsune grabbed the necklace from the chain and held it up. Thank you, I love it. She then quickly put it on. How does it look? Izuku smiled. It looks good on you. Also, I wanted to ask, you busy this weekend? 3 days later. These last couple of days Izuku spent going to school and hanging out with Hatsune. And as much as Izuku wanted to deny it, he was starting to look at Hatsune in a different light. It was now Friday, and today Class 1 were supposed to get some special hero training. Sitting in class, Izuku and the rest of the class watched as Aizawa stepped up to the podium. As you know, today is the day you have special training. We will be going to a place called the Ustye, or Unforeseen Simulation Joint. This is a rather huge place, so 3 heroes will be joining you, myself, All Might, and a special guest. More information will be provided when we get there. In the meantime, go get changed in your hero costumes and meet out in the bus area. The Ustye is part of UA, but outside its walls, so we'll have to take a bus. Izuku got up and began to walk towards the locker rooms, but as he did, Bakugo threw his arm around him. So nerd, how are things with the inventor? Izuku raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about, Kachin? Don't play dumb with me. These last couple of days you've been looking at her differently. Not to mention you gave her that necklace. You even invited her out for a movie this weekend. That sounds like a date. What gives? You've never acted like this before, said Bakugo with a smirk on his face. Izuku blushed slightly. I just figured I'd start living my life. Bakugo smiled and patted Izuku on the back. It's about time, now come on or we'll be left behind. After changing into their hero costumes, Izuku looked inside the bus and noticed there was more than enough room for everyone so people could sit where they wanted. With everyone now on the bus, Izuku noticed that his costume felt different. Huh? Why does the chest piece feel different? He asked himself. I wonder if Hatsune made some improvements. Hey Midoriya, so your speed is your quirk, right? Asked Kirishima. Izuku turned and nodded. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I can do a lot with it. So is it just called speed, or did you name your quirk something else? Asked Mina. Honestly, just calling it speed is kind of boring. Well, can't argue with that, but I just recently got these powers, so I don't really have a name for it yet. The bus fell silent. Izuku looked around and noticed his classmates all looking at him. What? What do you mean you just got your powers? Ribbit, asked Sue. It's like I said, I just barely got them. It's kind of a long story, but to sum it up, I was struck by lightning, put into a coma for months, and woke up with super speed, explained Izuku. That makes no sense, said Kendo. Trust me, I know, but it's the truth, said Izuku as he raised his arm and green lightning began to spark. Super speed, a good fighter, and good looking. Wow, Midoriya, you seem to be the perfect guy, teased Mina. You got a girlfriend? The question caught Uraraka's attention. Izuku smirked. Why do you ask Mina? Interested? The sudden quip caught Mina off guard, but she quickly composed herself. Oh, maybe. Care to find out? Izuku was about to answer, but before he could, Bakugo smacked him over the head. What the hell, Kachin? No more messing around, or I might just tell Hatsune, said Bakugo, crossing his arms. Ribbit, Hatsune? You mean that pink-haired girl? Asked Sue. I thought you two weren't together. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. We aren't. Kachin here is just messing with me. But no, I'm not dating anyone, yet. Uraraka let out a small sigh of relief. All right everyone, look alive. We've arrived, said Aizawa. The bus stopped and everyone quickly got off the bus and found themselves standing in front of a massive domed building. Yua really doesn't go cheap on stuff, huh? Said Izuku as he looked on in awe at the sheer size. The class then went inside where they found different areas. Some had mountains, others collapsed buildings, fires, and even a lake. Welcome everyone to the Usje. The class turned to find a person wearing a spacesuit. Uraraka instantly recognized them. Oh my god, it's 13. She's been my favorite hero since I was a kid. Izuku smiled. It's like a dream come true for you, huh? Uraraka blushed. 13, where's All Might? He was supposed to meet us here, asked Aizawa. The hero put up 2 fingers. He used up too much time and is resting in the teacher's lounge. But he did say he would be joining us after he recovered enough, explained 13. Aizawa sighed. Of course he did. Well, nothing we can do about it now. Let's get this class started. 13 nodded. Now, as Aizawa has explained, this is the USI. Today you will be conducting rescue operations in unknown terrains and situations. But before we do anything, let me just say something. Quirks are a hero's greatest tool, but it can also be something else, their doom. Heroes have some of the strongest quirks and are considered weapons. And like with any weapon, it could be used for defense or offense. Take my quirk for example, Black Hole. I can suck up anything with it and break the target down to its molecular structure. Perfect for rescue missions, but also good at killing someone. That's why we heroes are closely vetted and we are also under a lot of laws. Izuku looked down at his hands. I can hurt someone if I'm not careful to. That's why you must all learn how to adapt and take on any hero assignment. The class clapped as 13 finished her speech. Good, now that you know what you'll be doing, we can finally assign groups. Each will be given a different zone. However, as Aizawa explained, he suddenly felt a cold shiver run down his back. Turning and facing down the plaza, Aizawa's eyes widened when he suddenly saw a black portal opening up in the main plaza. The students all walked over to the edge of the stair and watched as the portal opened up and a large number of people walked out of it. Are those robots? Asked Kirishima. He tried to take another step forward, but Aizawa put his arm up. Don't. Everyone step back now. Those aren't robots, those are real. Villains, said Izuku as they now covered the entire plaza. But that's when a massive creature with a bird face walked out of the portal, followed by a man with a bunch of hands around his body. Aizawa then pulled down his goggles and prepared his capture weapon. Can anyone get a call out to Yua? Kaminari tried to get a signal but couldn't. No sir, I can't get anything. Izuku tried to contact Hatsum through his earpiece, but only static was heard. Damn, nothing over here either. Someone down there is jamming any and all signals, said Aizawa. 13, stay with the kids and get out of here. I'll hold them back as long as I can. Izuku was surprised. Don't be an idiot, Aizawa. You fight at close range. If you fight this many people at once. But Aizawa just smiled. That's what's wrong with you speed-type quirk users. You look at everything too simply. That's when Izuku and the rest of the class watched as Aizawa jumped down the stairs and run towards the villains. Come on, let's head to the exit, ordered 13. The class then all turned and began to run, all but Izuku. He stayed and watched Aizawa run down the stairs. Come on Midoriya, Aizawa will be fine, we have to trust him, said Uraraka, grabbing him by the arm. Izuku nodded. Yeah, alright, fine, let's go. Down in the plaza, the villain with the hands looked around. Huh, no All Might. The intel said he would be here. Shigaraki, all but one of the people we've brought have passed through, explained a man covered in black mist. Let me guess it was that one, asked Shigaraki. The black mist person nodded. They said they would be here, but remember the one in the green suit is theirs, so do not touch him. We will stick to the plan Kurogiri. However, as Kurogiri was about to leave, Aizawa jumped and began to run down the stairs towards the villains below. Who's that? Asked one of the villains. Who cares? Ice him. That's when 3 villains pointed their hands at Aizawa. From the looks of things, their hands could shoot out bullets. However, before any of them could fire, Aizawa activated his quirk, which prevented them from using theirs. What? Aizawa then came in and wrapped his capture weapon around one. Pulling on it, he launched himself at the villain's head and proceeded to kick them, knocking them out. It's Eraserhead, one of them yelled out. He can erase your quirk just by looking at you. Shigaraki heard that. Oh, it seems a mini-boss has arrived. Kurogiri, take care of the kids. Namu here will deal with Eraserhead. Kurogiri nodded and quickly warped away, leaving only the giant bird-faced monster with Shigaraki. Where the hell is the other person? They should be here by now. Back with Izuku, he and the rest of the class were just a few meters away from the exit when a black mist portal appeared in front of them. Unfortunately, I can't let you leave. Sorry for the late introductions. The name is Kurogiri, and we are from the League of Villains. We are here to kill All Might, but it seems like he's not here. Oh well, I have a role to play, and you are nothing but pawns. 13 was about to activate her quirk when Bakugo and Kirishima jumped at the villain. Kirishima activated his hardening quirk and Bakugo fired an explosion. The entrance was filled with smoke. Damn it, Kachin, you should have waited, said Izuku as he shielded his eyes. Bakugo and Kirishima both thought they got the villain, but they were wrong. The hero students live up to expectation. But you should have been more careful. You too, get out of the way, yelled 13. Both students jumped out of the way. Raising her hand, 13 activated her quirk, Black Hole. From her fingers, the hero began to suck up the black mist. Cleaver, but you'll have to do better than that to beat me. Opening a portal in front of the hero, Kurogiri caused 13's own quirk to open up behind her and rip her back to shreds. No, yelled the class as Izuku rushed to catch the hero. With the hero down, I can move on to the next stage of the plan. Now be gone. Activating his quirk, Kurogiri began to blanket the entirety of Class 1A in a black mist. Izuku shielded his eyes, but it was now or never he needed to act. I need to get everyone out of the mist. With green lighting jumping off his body, Izuku flexed his legs and began to run. First he got 13 out of the mist, followed by Kendo, Sato, Mina, Shoji, and Uraraka. However, as he ran back for the rest, they suddenly began to slip through the portal. Izuku reached out to grab someone's hand, but by the time he got there, it was too late. Damn it. Oh, what's this? You saved that many and yourself. You must be the speedster the other one was talking about. If you were able to save that many, then you might interfere later, so I'll just get rid of you now. Kurogiri once again activated his quirk. But before he could even get close to Izuku, Shoji pounced on the villain. Shoji held the mist villain in place. Midoriya, you have to go. You're the fastest in the class. Go warn the teachers on the main campus, said Mina. But I just can't leave you guys here, said Izuku. Don't worry about us. Just go, ordered Uraraka. If you don't go, we'll be dead. Now go. Run, Midoriya, run. Seeing no other option, Izuku pulled his mask over his face. His body then began to spark green lightning as he took a step forward. In a flash, Izuku took off towards the exit. Within a second, he made it to the door, but found that it was closed. Izuku tried to pry open the door but couldn't, but that's when things started to go bad. Kurogiri saw Izuku and broke free from Shoji's grasp. Don't let him near Midoriya, yelled Uraraka. The remaining students began to use their quirks to slow the villain down, but slowly but surely he began to creep on Izuku. Still struggling with the door, Izuku got an idea. I sure hope this doesn't break my hands. Placing both hands on the metal door, Izuku focused his speed on his hands and began to hit the metal door with his fingers repeatedly. Normally, this wouldn't do anything, but with Izuku's speed, it was a different story. At super speeds, the vibrations were causing his hands to emit a specific frequency, and hopefully he could pull it off. Come on, I need to go faster, as he said that the metal doors began to shake violently. No, he's going to escape, yelled Kurogiri as he began to blanket Izuku with his mist. However, just as his portals were about to reach Izuku, the metal door exploded. Pieces of said door came flying at the villain, causing him to fall back. Yes, I got it, said Izuku as he now had a clear view of the outside. I'll be back with help, so don't go dying on me, you hear. With that, Izuku took off, leaving nothing but his green lightning behind. One got away, but I can at least make sure none of you do as well. Opening a portal above the entrance, Kurogiri dropped a large boulder from the landslide area, preventing the others from leaving. Now I need to go tell Shigaraki the bad news. With Izuku, as soon as he felt the affected area, his communications came back online. Midoriya, you there? Midoriya? Izuku was surprised. Hatsum. Oh, thank goodness, I saw your signal go dark and began to worry. What happened? Asked Hatsum. Villains, they are attacking the Usja now. I escaped and am heading towards the main campus now, said Izuku. Villains, go to the teacher's lounge. There should be tons of heroes there. I'll tell Power Loader too, maybe we can help, said Hatsum. No, don't come over here. I don't want you getting hurt. Tell Power Loader, but that's it, said Izuku as he passed US gates. Hold on, I just made it to the school. Running through the main building, Izuku found the teacher's lounge. Bursting through the door, he found only All Might and Nezu. Midoriya? What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be with Aizawa and 13 at the Usaj? Asked All Might. No time for that. The Usaj is under attack by villains. We need help, said Izuku in a panic. Nezu stood up. All Might get to the USG. I'll have the other teachers meet you there. All Might nodded. Got it. Midoriya, stay here, this is going to get dangerous. However, Izuku refused. Not a chance. My friends are in danger, so I'm going back. Now hurry up before I leave you behind. Nezu didn't have time to argue with Izuku. Fine, but listen to what All Might tells you. Izuku nodded. Let's go. The two then ran out of the building and towards the USG. As they were running, All Might couldn't help but notice that Izuku was running ahead of him. He's so fast. Izuku looked back to All Might. Hurry it up, old man, yelled Izuku. But as he looked back up, he suddenly got a communication from Hatsume. Midoriya, are you almost back at the USG? Almost, just a few more seconds. Why? Asked Izuku. I managed to hack into the cameras and turn them back on. Things aren't good. Your teacher, he's badly hurt, said Hatsume. Izuku's eyes widened. We aren't going to make it. Thanks, Hatsume. Keep me posted. He then looked back to All Might. We have to hurry. Aizawa is hurt. Then I suggest we go plus ultra, said All Might. Smiling, Izuku nodded. Time to kick it up a notch then. With more green lightning jumping off of his body, Izuku began to pull away from All Might. That's when the Osage began to come into view. We're here, guys. I made it. However, as Izuku was a few hundred meters away, he got another message. Midoriya, help, it's them. They are here. The person in the red lightning, It was Hatsume, and she sounded distressed. She was about to tell Izuku who the person in the red lightning was when she was cut off. Izuku was about to say something when another voice came through the comms, but this one was distorted. Hello, Izuku? It's been a few days. Did you miss me? Izuku's blood ran cold. It was the person in the red lightning. You. With Hatsume seconds before. Hatsume was currently running back to her workstation after telling Power Loader about what was going on. She was instructed by her teacher to stay put and Izuku warned her too, but Hatsume wasn't going to just wait. Hold on, Midoriya, I'm coming. Making it to her workstation, she began to pull out several babies, but as she was looking, someone suddenly grabbed her shoulder. Turning around, Hatsume found Melissa standing there. You seem to be in a rush. Hatsume turned. Melissa? Yeah, I am. Midoriya and the rest of Class 1A are under attack at the USE. What? Did you tell the teachers yet? Asked Melissa. Hatsume nodded. And let me guess, you want to go and help? I have to. Midoriya might get hurt, explained Hatsume as she went back to digging for babies. Melissa watched Hatsume frantically searching. You like him, don't you? Hatsume stopped and looked back at Melissa. What? Izuku, you like him, don't you? Asked Melissa once again. Hatsume stayed quiet. You know, if you like him, you should tell him. Hatsume narrowed her eyes. Why did you call him by his first name? And why did you say it so naturally, like you knew each other for a while now? The two girls looked at each other as the tension around them increased. Finally, Melissa laughed. Man, I really screwed that up, didn't I? Forgot I was in the past. Hatsume took a step back. Who are you? Melissa smiled, but as she did, Hatsume felt a gust of wind blow past her, followed by several thuds. Looking around, she found everyone in her class on the floor knocked out. What? Hatsume tried to warn Izuku, but she was cut off when a pair of glowing red eyes appeared in front of her. Sorry about this. You were a good friend, but you have a role to play in all this. With Izuku. Yes, it's me. I hate talking through this. Why don't we meet in person? The comms went silent, but even before Izuku could react, a red streak of lightning came in and stopped in front of him. Izuku stopped, but that's when he noticed. And no, let her go, yelled Izuku. There, with their hand around Hatsume's neck, was the person in the red lightning. All Might stopped as well. Who is that? Izuku gritted his teeth. That's the person who killed my mom. Now, getting a closer look at the person, Izuku noticed that their suit was exactly like his, just red in color. I've done more than that, Izuku, but you don't have to worry about that now. There's someone who needs your help now. Raising his hand, the person lifted Hatsume off the ground, causing her to gasp for air. Stop it, yelled Izuku angrily. Izuku ran at the person, but they quickly got out of the way. Too slow. If you want to save her, you'll have to get faster, mocked the person. That's when All Might jumped into action. Appearing behind the person, All Might pulled his fist back. I don't know who you are, but if you threaten a student of UA, you'll have to deal with me. Detroit. All Might, don't, yelled Izuku. However, before All Might's fist could even touch the person, he was suddenly hit with several punches which knocked him back. The number one hero was surprised as he slid to a stop. I didn't even see him move. All Might, stop. Head to the USG. I'll deal with him. said Izuku. But I can't, Izuku cut him off. Go now, All Might flinched but ultimately nodded and took off towards the jeep. Let Hatsune go, now, demanded Izuku as he faced down the person. Let me think about that. Letting go of Hatsune, the mystery person appeared in front of Izuku and began to punch him multiple times with super speed hits. Izuku hunched over in pain as he at least felt over 50 punches in a matter of a second. Finally, with one powerful uppercut, the mystery person sent Izuku flying into the sky. Hitting the floor hard, Izuku rolled to a stop. Getting up slowly, he was surprised by what he saw. Or rather, what he didn't see. Hatsune was gone. Where is she? I swear if you hurt her. She's alive, for now at least. But it's up to you if she stays that way, explained the mystery person. Izuku gritted his teeth. What do you want? To kill you. Simple as that, explained the mystery person. Why? What did I ever do to you? Asked Izuku. The person laughed. It's not what you've done, it's what you're going to do. You see, I'm not from around here, at least not this part of time. Izuku raised an eyebrow. This part of time? What does that even mean? In simple terms, I'm from the future, Izuku. About 150 years in the future. Izuku couldn't believe it. Shocking, isn't it? But all true. I came back in time to do one thing, and one thing only. To make your life a living hell, just like you made mine. Me? I should be dead in 150 years. I've done nothing to you, said Izuku. Nothing, you say? Nothing. The mystery person ran up to Izuku and grabbed him by the neck. You took everything from me, my life, my family, and my title. I earned it all, but you couldn't take it. No, you just had to come in here to ruin all my fun. Izuku reeled back in fear as the person's eyes began to glow brighter with red. Their body was also vibrating, so he couldn't tell who they were. Why, you called us friends before. How is that possible? The mystery person threw Izuku to the side. Not you, but another version of you came and visited me in the future. We fought alongside each other for a while, brought down villains, and even saved the world. But you didn't like sharing the glory. No, there was only room for one speedster, and it couldn't be me. So you ruined me, took everything, and left me for dead. But I couldn't, no, I wouldn't accept it. If I couldn't make you pay then, I would do it in the past. Before you became a hero, before you were the fastest man alive. So everything, all the bad things that happened in my life were because of you? Asked Izuku. The mystery person smiled. Every last thing. But now that I'm here, I can take away the thing you value the most besides your life. The girl. Once I deal with her, I will kill you. Izuku clenched his fists. Mom dying, Dad going to prison, that was all you? The person stayed silent, which only confirmed everything to Izuku. Why you son of a bitch. With green lightning jumping off his body, Izuku ran at the person. I guess we're doing this again. The mystery person took off. Izuku gave chase, and it seemed like a repeat of last time was inevitable. But this time, the mystery person was fighting for real. Running through multiple cities, the two fought. Izuku would go in for a kick, but the mystery person would just block and counter. While in a city, the mystery person managed to grab and throw Izuku towards a wall of a tall skyscraper. Landing feet first, Izuku began to run up the wall itself. The mystery person gave chase, and all the people below watched as two streaks of light, one green and one red, headed up. Halfway up, the two streaks began to clash into each other, causing sparks to fly off every time they collided. They would go around the building multiple times to the point that the glass began to crack underneath their feet. Finally making it to the top, Izuku was slammed against the signal tower. The tall beam of metal creaked and splinted, causing it to tip over. Falling, the tower slammed against the side of the building and began to fall. Look at what you've caused, Izuku. Watch as helpless people die because of you. Grabbing his face, the mystery person forced Izuku to watch the beam fall. Down below, the echoing screams of people were heard as they ran for their lives. And no, let me go. The mystery person smiled. Never. You are going to watch this to the end. That's when Izuku became angry. Vibrating his hand, he began to build up electricity. I said, let me go. Breaking free from the person's grasp, Izuku turned around and tossed the electricity he was building up at the person. Taken off guard, the lightning hit the mystery person in the face. Gah! Getting up quickly, Izuku ran down the side of the building. Reaching the ground, he began to grab people and get them out of the way of the falling beam. The heavy metal pole crashed to the ground, breaking and splintering it. You guys all right? The crowd nodded. Good, now get out of here. With that, Izuku ran up the skyscraper once again. Making it back, Izuku watched as the person stumbled back. The mystery person's face was covered in smoke. I'll admit, Izuku, you caught me off guard. But it won't happen again. Izuku then noticed that the person's voice wasn't as distorted and their body had stopped vibrating. Narrowing his eyes, Izuku saw the person's body. They were thin, rather tall, had curvy hips, and a pair of breasts. "A girl?" asked Izuku. That's when the smoke cleared from the person's face. Izuku's eyes widened. "Why you?" There, standing in front of him atop a massive skyscraper, was Melissa Shield. Her long golden blonde hair blowing in the wind. Surprise. "Why?" Izuku stood shocked at the sight of Melissa. "You were the person in the red lightning." Melissa laughed. "Yes." "How? You're my age, and if you killed her you must have been a kid," said Izuku. "You make a valid point, but time tends to mess with you when you mess with it," said Melissa. "My body has been altered thanks to my trips in and out of the time stream. I may not look it, but I'm a bit older than you." As Melissa explained, Izuku came rushing at her with his fist drawn back. Izuku's fist was inches from hitting when Melissa looked up and smiled. With red lightning jumping off her body, Melissa dodged under the punch and then palm striked Izuku in the stomach. Izuku didn't even see it, but after a few seconds the pain of her hit registered. Melissa's hand was small and normally wouldn't do much damage, but it was the speed at which she punched that made her dangerous. And it's that speed that knocked Izuku off the tower. Izuku went falling off the tower gasping for air as Melissa knocked the wind out of him. At the top, Melissa looked over the ledge to see Izuku. "Here's a little science lesson, Izuku. The faster an object travels, the more its mass increases. Meaning if I can hit you fast enough, it will feel like a train slammed into you." Taking off, Melissa ran down the side of the building. The citizens below watched as a red streak of electricity flashed past them. Still stumbling to the ground, Izuku finally got his air and composed himself. Twisting his body, he made it so that he could see the ground. It was getting closer. "Shit, come on Izuku, think. There's nowhere to run and no building for friction." Just then Izuku noticed he was just a few stories off the ground. At lightning speeds, Izuku braced for the hit with the ground, only to find it never came. "Sorry Izuku, I can't have you dying on me just yet," said Melissa as she caught and ran with Izuku. Stopping in the city, Izuku was thrown to a nearby car and slammed against it. Caving the car in, Izuku groaned in pain. "Damn, that hurt." "What's wrong, Izuku? Done already?" mocked Melissa as she stood a few meters away. "To think you will become the fastest man alive. The world's greatest hero." Izuku pushed himself off the car. "I'm nowhere near done. Come on." That's when green lightning began to jump off Izuku's body. Melissa laughed. "Yes, you're just like the museum said you were. Never backing down from a fight." Izuku ran at Melissa only to have her turn and run. Izuku quickly gave chase. Within seconds they had already traveled around Japan and were now running on water. Izuku tried to reach out and grab Melissa, but she would just increase her speed and pull ahead. Now they were back on land, but this time they were in China. The two ran across the entire country before making it to the Great Wall. As they ran along it, Melissa suddenly stopped. Izuku's eyes widened as he didn't have time to stop. Slamming against her elbow, Izuku's body went bouncing off the ground. As he was, however, Melissa jumped up and grabbed Izuku. "You don't deserve your powers," she yelled out, slamming him against the Great Wall with so much force that it cracked. She then proceeded to punch Izuku rapidly in the torso before grabbing him and slamming him back into the wall. Getting frustrated, Izuku threw a wild punch that managed to connect. He then followed it up with another right hook, then a left, and then finished it with an uppercut. As Melissa grunted in pain, Izuku began to charge up his arm with green lightning. "You'll pay for what you did to me." Throwing his arm forward, Izuku threw a bolt of lightning at Melissa. But as it moved closer to her, she simply smiled. "I won't, but you on the other hand, will." At the last second, Melissa managed to move out of the way. Seeing a chance, Melissa grabbed Izuku in the air and ran. Using him as a shield, Izuku was slammed against mountains and forests. With each hit, parts of his costume would tear off. Finally, Melissa made it back to Yue, where she threw Izuku's body on the ground in front of the Asti. With blood dripping onto the floor and his costume ripped to shreds, Izuku slowly began to pick himself up. "Why? What did I ever do to you?" "Because you didn't want me. As a child, I grew up learning about Izuku Midoriya and all his great achievements. I guess you could say I was your biggest fan. And one day, as fate would have it, I was working on an experiment when I was struck by lightning and fell into a batch of chemicals. Before I knew it, I too had speed-based powers. Finally, I thought, this was a chance to become who I admired the most in the world," explained Melissa. "So I became you. I became a hero. I even wore one of your old costumes. I ran around stopping threats and eliminating them. But the people, they didn't like me. They would call me a fake, a fraud, a copy. They made it clear that I could never be you. But all that didn't matter to me. As long as I can do what you did, it wouldn't matter. Melissa's face then turned stern. But that all changed when you arrived. Another version of you came to my time. At first you were happy to see your name live on. We even fought together on multiple occasions, but I could see it in your eyes. You looked at me with contempt and hate. So I asked you about it. And do you know what you said? Melissa laughed. You said that there was only one true Izuku, and it would never be me. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I fought, no matter how fast I ran, I would never be a true speeder. You even went so far as to rip the lightning bolt off my chest. That broke me. All I ever wanted was to be like you, but that wouldn't be possible with you in the picture. There was just not enough room for two speeders. Izuku stood horrified at the story. But it's fine, I soon realized that you were just jealous. That I became a better speedster than you ever could. After you took my symbol I went and got a new one. Want to guess where I got it from? Asked Melissa, pointing to the chest piece. Izuku's eyes widened. From the other me. Melissa nodded. Yes. From that day on, I made it my sole purpose in life to make sure you felt the same way I felt. You ruined my life, Izuku, so I decided to ruin yours. So I traveled back in time to make sure that happened. So everything, every small inconvenience in your life since your mother died, that was me. That time I broke my arm? Asked Izuku. That was me, explained Melissa. Everything in your life has been dictated by me and me alone. If I could have just made it so that you never became a hero, I would be the real speedster. So I went to the past with the intention to kill you, but as I was going to kill you, my body began to fade out of existence. That's when I realized that I couldn't kill you then, since dying would mean I ceased to exist. So I did the next best thing and killed your mother, said Melissa with a smile. Izuku gritted his teeth. There was another. I remember seeing you, but I also saw a green streak of lightning running by. Who was that? Melissa raised her finger and waved it. Sorry, but I can't tell you everything. But I will tell you this, you were involved. Izuku stood in complete shock, but as he processed everything, Melissa came in and punched him across the face. Get your head in the game, Izuku. It would be a shame if you died before you could save Hatsune. Staggering back, Izuku had blood running down his nose. You bitch, I'll kill you. As Izuku wiped away the blood, his eyes began to spark green with power. This ends today, he yelled out as he took off. Izuku didn't know it at the time, but he was now moving faster than he had ever gone before. The sudden increase in speed caught Melissa off guard, but as she activated her speed, Izuku came up and kneed her in the stomach. As Melissa reeled forward in pain, she let a smile appear on her face. That's when Izuku raised his arm and elbowed her in the back, causing her to smack against the concrete floor. As she laid there, Izuku grabbed her by the back of the costume and began to spin around. With every passing moment, Izuku increased his speed. Soon a massive tornado appeared in front of the Usji. The wind gusts it was generating was comparable to that of an F5 tornado. The entire Usji building began to shake as it was the closest building, but even with its massive size, cracks began to appear around the building. Knowing that if he kept going, Izuku would destroy the building and hurt his classmates inside, he finally stopped, simultaneously throwing Melissa towards the Usta. Melissa was thrown into the building. She would have broken through the boulder Shigaraki placed, but it seemed All Might had already done that. Flying past the students at the entrance, they watched as red lightning struck around them. They all quickly threw themselves onto the ground. What the hell was that? Asked Uraraka. That's when she saw a trail of green lightning pass her. Midoriya? Melissa then came tumbling to a stop in the middle of the plaza. She landed in front of All Might, Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, Tsu, and Mainta. Hey, are you all right? Asked Kirishima. He slowly approached her, but as he reached out, Izuku came in and kneed her into the mountain zone. Don't touch her, she's mine, said Izuku in a cold and dark voice as lightning sparked around him. Bakugo felt a shiver run down his spine. He could tell Izuku was pissed. Hey nerd, what are you doing? Who was that? Izuku didn't even turn around. It was her. She's the one who did it. Bakugo raised an eyebrow. Did what? Slowly turning to Bakugo, Izuku's eyes sparked green with power. She killed Mom. Bakugo's eyes couldn't believe it. What? That's when red lightning appeared and went straight for the students. Izuku reacted quickly enough to get Bakugo out of the way, but the rest were knocked out. Well, if it isn't Katsuki Bakugo, one of the 5 greatest heroes of all time. It's an honor to meet you, said Melissa as he held Kirishima by the costume. Melissa Shield? She's the one who killed Auntie and Co., asked Bakugo, surprised. Izuku nodded. That doesn't make any sense. To a simple-minded idiot like you, it doesn't. But my goals are beyond your understanding, said Melissa. What? Melissa, is that you? Everyone turned to find All Might. What are you doing, and how did you get that costume? Melissa sighed. Why is everyone so slow on the uptake? Hey Uncle Might, you might not believe this, but I'm not who you think I am. A girl? The mystery person who contacted us was a girl? Asked Shigaraki, surprised. Himself, along with Kirigiri and the Namu, stood at the ready. Melissa turned to the villains. Right, I forgot about you guys. Nice job being the distraction, by the way. Distraction? We aren't some distraction. We are the main show. And you girly are just a pawn I play with. Now watch as Namu kills the symbol of peace. Namu, kill him, ordered Shigaraki. The Namu let out a roar that caused All Might to flinch, but as the monster took a step it stopped. Namu, what are you doing? Kill him. But still the monster wouldn't move. Yeah, it won't listen to you anymore, or rather it can't. It's missing something very important. See? Said Melissa, holding up what appeared to be a heart. Everyone turned to find the Namu swaying before falling backwards without a scratch on him. What did you do? Asked Shigaraki, enraged. Melissa then began to vibrate her hand, causing the heart to pop. I ripped its heart out by vibrating my hand through its chest. It's a simple trick, but quite effective. Now if you two don't mind, I'd like it if you two leave. You think I'd just let you go after killing Namu? That was a present from my master, said Shigaraki. That's when Melissa appeared in front of the villain, her face vibrating and her eyes burning red. I'm not asking you to go, I'm telling you. You may think you're all that, but let me tell you something. You become nothing but a forgotten stain in the fabric of history. No one will remember who you are or what you did. Now get the hell out of here before I end your sad, pathetic life. Shigaraki took a step back. His legs were shaking uncontrollably. For the first time, Shigaraki felt something. Fear? She's actually going to kill me. Just then, Kirigiri wrapped Shigaraki in his mist and began to teleport away. We'll leave, but know this, heroes. The League will be back, and we will be the ones to kill you, All Might. With that, the two villains disappeared through the portal. Now gone, Melissa stopped vibrating. Now, where were we? Ah yes, I believe we had some unfinished business, Izuku. But before that, go ahead, ask again. Izuku clenched his fist. Why? Why did my mom have to die? Why did you kill her? Because I hate you, Izuku, said Melissa. Plain and simple, I want to see you suffer. I want to see you reeling in pain and agony. That's why? That's why Auntie had to die? Izuku and Melissa turned to find Bakugo standing back up. What the fuck? I'll blow you to pieces. Using his explosions, Bakugo launched himself at Melissa. Izuku's eyes widened. No, catch and don't. Izuku tried to stop Bakugo, but it was too late. Melissa was already in front of him. It's a shame, really, to think his hero career would end so soon. Melissa then grabbed Bakugo's legs while in mid-air and began to vibrate her hands at supersonic speeds. With each vibration, Bakugo's bone began to crack and splinter. Izuku was just a few feet away when he heard two loud cracks. No! Yelled Izuku as he pushed Melissa away and caught Bakugo. Bakugo's legs were now broken and completely bruised, so much so that they limped unnaturally. But thanks to the shock, Bakugo didn't even feel a thing. Now passed out on his arms, Izuku glared at Melissa. No. Why, your problem is with me. Do it to me. Leave everyone else alone. Melissa scoffed. You should be thanking me. He's not dead, but I could have killed him. Remember that. Melissa, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you have to stop, said All Might. I'm taking you in to answer some questions. Please, do you honestly believe you can stop me? Faster than All Might could see, Melissa suddenly appeared in front of him. The next thing the hero heard was a piercing sound. Looking down, All Might could see Melissa had dug her hand into his side and vibrated it rapidly. I slow for even slightly and your insides become nothing but mush. Moving her hand slightly, All Might let out an agonizing scream. But with Izuku, he was still concerned with Bakugo. Wake up, Kachin! Come in, wake up! Suddenly, Bakugo opened one eye. Take her down. I can't, she's too fast, said Izuku as All Might's yells were heard in the background. Bakugo smiled. Don't give me that shit, nerd. Are you really going to let yourself down now? You finally have the perfect chance to get revenge. Take it. Now go, nerd, run. Alright, but first I have to get you guys out of the way. In a flash, Izuku carried Bakugo to the entrance of the Aschi. Stay here, I'll bring the rest of the class. Within a matter of 5 seconds, Izuku ran around the entirety of the Aschi and grabbed everyone and got them to the entrance. As he had the last student, Izuku turned and looked at All Might still getting beat up by Melissa. Let that be a lesson, All Might. Don't just say words if you don't really mean it. As he put down Momo, he then looked at the class and counted that everyone was there. All right, go. Head to the main campus. The teachers won't be far behind. What about you, Midoriya? Asked Gyro. Izuku turned towards the plaza. I'm going to bring in the person who killed my mom. With a loud boom, Izuku took off towards the plaza. With Melissa, she was still beating on him while smiling at the same time. You were always the one who never died, All Might. Even in the future, your name lives on as one of the greatest heroes that ever lived. But you'll prove too much of a problem down the line, so this is where I bid you farewell. Pulling back her arm, Melissa began to vibrate it, ready to tear out his heart. But just as she was inches from his chest, Izuku came in and punched Melissa across the face, sending her flying. As much as I dislike him, All Might has to live. He's too important to other people, said Izuku, standing in front of the number 1 hero. All Might was stunned. Midoriya, does that mean you remember? Not now, All Might. You have to get out of here. I won't be able to go all out with you guys here, said Izuku. Melissa laughed. Finally decided to take me seriously, Izuku. But aren't you forgetting something? Or rather someone? That's when Melissa tossed something at Izuku. Catching it, Izuku's eyes widened. It was the necklace he gave Hatsume. Hatsume, where is she? Do you want to know to save her? Or do you want to kill me? You can't do both, Izuku, said Melissa. Izuku gritted his teeth. Tell me. Here's a hint. She's at the place where it all started. Izuku thought about it for a second and then had his answer. The hut. She's at the beach. Izuku began to run towards the exit, but as he was, Melissa came in and tackled him onto the stairs. And who said you could leave? I thought you wanted to kill me, asked Melissa as she held him down. Maybe you're not mad enough. All right, how about this? Your mom said something just before she died. Izuku stopped struggling. What? It was quite sad. She pleaded for her life. She even asked me to spare you. But in the end, I dug my hand into her chest and ruptured her heart like a balloon. Melissa then leaned in. Pop. The best part is that people are still aware for a few seconds after it happens, which means she felt everything. Izuku's anger began to swell. Why you? Don't worry, Izuku, I won't kill you in the same way. First, I'll kill your friend, Bakugo, Hatsume, Uraraka, and everyone in your class. Next will be Bakugo's parents, then your dad. And last but not least, after everything is said and done, you. Hearing that, Izuku snapped, vibrating his entire body. Izuku managed to push Melissa away. No, you won't. I'm going to kill you before you get the chance. You're welcome to try, but you'll fail, said Melissa as red lightning sparked off of her body. Izuku's green lightning crashed into hers, causing bolts to fall around them. Some were dangerously close to the class who were currently evacuating. The two then ran at each other, but now Izuku was done playing games. He was going to kill Melissa once and for all. The two clashed in the middle, causing a massive lightning bolt to come crashing down to the center plaza. The roof exploded open as the bolt struck the two speedsters. All Might, who was standing at the top of the stairs, couldn't even see them. All he saw was a streak of light followed by loud booms. This is insane. Wait, Melissa said something about a beach and Midoriya said something about a girl named Hatsume. Not wasting any time, All Might took off. Izuku fought hard. He even got a few hits in, but in the end, he was still inexperienced, while Melissa had so many unknown years behind her. Grabbing Izuku, she pinned him against the mountain and began to punch him rapidly, over and over again. With each hit, the mountain behind her began to crack from the sheer impact. With each hit, Izuku could feel his bones breaking, his organs bruising or rupturing. He tried to fight back, but every time he threw a punch, Melissa would dodge and counter. By the end of it, Izuku had blood running down his mouth. His body and face were a complete mess from the punches. This is so boring, said Melissa. You're not even as fast as the other Izuku. You're so slow. It's no wonder you couldn't save your mom. Izuku fell to the floor. And now you won't even be able to save your little girlfriend. Losing two people you care about, Izuku. That's just sad. Oh well, time to kill you. Zooming away, Melissa quickly returned with what appeared to be a piece of Todoroki's ice. Spinning her hand, she turned it into a spike, perfect for killing. Good. Izuku slowly lifted his head. I thought you couldn't kill me. I thought as much, but time is a fragile thing. You even change the slightest of things, and it causes multiple worlds and timelines. And seeing that I'm not fading out of existence could only mean one thing. I've become a living paradox. I no longer need you to become a hero to create me. Time has changed, Izuku, and it's changed in my favor. Melissa then raised her spike. No. In a sudden burst of energy, Izuku managed to stand up. Melissa raised an eyebrow. Are you going to fight me? I've just mopped the floor with you." Without saying a word, Izuku ran away from Melissa. "Running away, Izuku? You're a spineless coward. Fine, I'll just kill your little friends and then I'll—" However, as Melissa was talking, the wall from behind her exploded and out came Izuku running. "What?" Taken by surprise, Melissa was then suddenly grabbed by the arm and taken away. Izuku was running around the world, getting Melissa away from his friends and building up speed. As he ran, Melissa began to try to break free of his grasp, but Izuku wasn't going to let her go. "You've taken everything from me, and now I'm going to make sure you don't do it ever again." With green lightning trailing behind him, Izuku once again increased his speed. He was now running so fast that it looked like Earth now had a green line cutting it in two parts. That's when Melissa smirked. "Should you really be wasting your time with me? Hatsume's life is in danger, you know." That made Izuku snap out of his rage. He quickly put the brakes and threw Melissa against one of the pyramids of Giza. "If you did anything to her, I will make you suffer." Melissa smirked. "I haven't done anything yet, but you now have less than 30 seconds to get to her before she goes boom along with the entire coastline of the city." Izuku's eyes widened. "Now choose, Izuku, me or Hatsume? The person who killed your mother? Or the person you have feelings for? Choose." Izuku's mind was going wild thinking about everything. 25 seconds, Izuku. Hearing that Izuku made a decision, punching Melissa across the face, he turned around. "I'll be back for you." With green lightning sparking off his body, Izuku took off towards the hut. Melissa wiped the blood off of her as she watched Izuku leave. "That's it, Izuku, run. In the end, you won't be able to save her. You're too slow." The hut. Hatsume sat in a chair, chained and unable to move. She squirmed around trying to break free, but it was no use. "Well, this is a fine mess." That's when a beeping sound was heard coming from her wrist. She found what appeared to be a large watch with a timer counting down, and that makes it worse. Hatsume was starting to freak out. "All right, things are not looking so good, but Midoriya will save me. I know he will." But as she waited for him, the counter went down to 25 seconds. That's when Hatsume began to think of the worst-case scenarios. She let out a nervous chuckle. "Man, I didn't think I would die like this. There was still so much I wanted to do. Graduate from UA, start up my business, create some amazing babies." Hatsume then thought of Izuku. "I just wish I could have told Midoriya how I felt about him. He's been through a lot, but yet he always pushed ahead. I guess that's one reason why I fell in love with him." As the timer reached 20 seconds, Hatsume heard an all-too-familiar sound. With a loud boom, Izuku appeared clad in his green lightning. "Hatsume." Midoriya, rushing towards her, Izuku began to break the chains around her. "Are you all right?" asked Izuku. "Did Melissa hurt you?" Hatsume shook her head. "No, but she left a present." Raising her arm, she showed Izuku the device strapped to her wrist. "Looks like a bomb to me." Izuku inspected it. Rushing over to one of the workstations, he grabbed a screwdriver and managed to pry open the display. Underneath was a mess of wires intertwined with one another, and in the center a small blue core. "What is this? I've never seen anything like this," said Hatsume. "It must be future tech. Damn, I don't think I would be able to disarm it," said Izuku. Looking up, Izuku saw the fear in Hatsume's eyes. As the timer hit 15 seconds, he grabbed Hatsume's hand. "Do you trust me?" he asked. Hatsume was surprised, but with a serious look she nodded. "With my life." "Good." Still holding her hand, Izuku began to vibrate his arm. He needed to somehow phase through the device off of Hatsume while making sure she didn't get hurt. After a few seconds, the device fell to the ground. "Got it." Picking it up, Izuku saw the timer had hit 10 seconds. "Not much time. If this is a bomb, I have to run it out of here. Even at my top speed, I'm not sure I can clear the blast radius." Activating his speed, green lightning began to spark around Izuku. But just as he was about to leave, Hatsume managed to touch his arm. As she touched him, Hatsume noticed that things were slowed down around her. Izuku turned. "What?" "Hatsume, let me go." "Wait, please. I have something to tell you." Pulling Izuku in, Hatsume kissed him on the lips. After what felt like seconds but in reality was not even half a second, they pulled away. "You better come back to me." With a slight blush, Izuku nodded. "I will." With a loud crack'em, Izuku took off and ran toward the ocean. He needed to get far away from Japan and make sure there were no populated islands nearby. Since this bomb was from the future, the yield should be greater than any nuke we have now, thought Izuku as he ran across the water. Now several hundred kilometers from Japan, Izuku looked down at the device to see a time of 5 seconds left. "It's now or never." Throwing the device, Izuku turned around and began to run away. The device hit the water, and as it slowly began to sink into the sea, the timer hit 0. A massive explosion erupted from the water, The heat of the explosion was enough to evaporate the water. Izuku ran as the fireball was close behind him. Come on, as he said that a bright light covered Izuku completely. Down by the butt Hatsum went outside just in time to see a massive fireball light up the horizon. Midoriya. After a few seconds a mushroom cloud then appeared, followed by a green streak of lightning. You called? Asked Izuku as he stopped in front of Hatsum. With tears in her eyes Hatsum smiled. You dummy. Throwing her arms around Izuku, the two embraced. I'm back, Hatsum, said Izuku as he held her tight. Well, isn't this nice? Said a voice behind them. Turning, they both saw Melissa standing in front of them. Congratulations, Izuku, you managed to save Mei. Now it's time to take care of you, said Izuku. I don't think so. But tell you what, I'll give you the same chance I gave the other you. Let's race, suggested Melissa. First one to run around the earth 50 times and go back to the Ust wins. If you win, I'll turn myself in, no fuss, no drama, no nothing. Izuku stayed silent. I don't like this, Midoriya. What if it's a trap? Asked Hatsum. And what if you win? Asked Izuku. Melissa smiled. You die. Izuku thought about it. He was actually thinking about racing Melissa. Only one problem. Izuku knew she was faster than him. Could he really win, or was that just a lost cause? Either way, Izuku finally had a chance to take the person who killed his mom down. Taking a deep breath, Izuku stepped forward. Let's do this. Hatsum was shocked. Midoriya. Very well, let's have Mei here meet us at the Usagi. She can judge who wins. Sound fair to you? Asked Melissa. Izuku nodded. Yes. He then turned to Hatsum. Come on, I'm taking you to the Usagi. However, before they left, Hatsum grabbed a tablet from her workstation. All right, let's go. In a flash, Izuku picked up Hatsum and began to run towards the Usagi. Within moments, Izuku arrived outside the building. His entire class was outside waiting for the teachers to arrive. Stopping in front of them, Izuku put Hatsum down. Midoriya, you made it back, said Mina, happy to see that her classmate was fine. But that's when the class could see the serious face on Izuku. I'll be back. Wait, Midoriya, don't go, pleaded Hatsum. If you lose, you'll die. Please don't go. I have to, Hatsum. This could be my one and only chance to get my dad out of prison, said Izuku. What if you lose? What if you're not fast enough? What happens then? Please don't race her, said Hatsum. Then that's what happens, said Izuku. I will win no matter what. Hatsum was about to say something else when Bakugo grabbed her wrist. There's no changing his mind. Once the nerd decides he's going to do something, he won't stop. You should know that. Reluctantly, Hatsum turned to Izuku. You better win. Count on it. With a loud crack'em, Izuku took off towards the hut. Within seconds, Izuku appeared in front of Melissa. It's about time. I was starting to think you ran off. Shut up and let's go. The faster I beat you, the faster I get back to my friends, said Izuku as he lined up at the shoreline. Melissa smirked. I can respect that. The two now stood at the shoreline ready. On go. 3. Izuku closed his eyes. 2. Izuku then thought of his father. 1. Before thinking about his mother. He needed to win for her, and he intended to. Go.